Hello everyone, welcome live to 3 Wide TV. We do apologize for the brief hiccup that we had there just a moment ago. I'm Peter Short, and joining me in the booth here tonight is none other than Drew Eisenman. And Drew, 3 races left here in the season, and here we are at the Auto Club Speedway. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's, I think, one of my favorite kind of bigger, fairly, I mean, when it comes to appearances at least, fairly generic tracks. Not generic at all. I've been lucky enough to attend quite a few races at Auto Club in real life, and it's got a ton of character, a ton of bumps. I'm kind of bummed actually that they're reprofiling this track as opposed to, I don't know, Peter, one that we know pretty well in Denton, Texas. That one is due for a complete rehaul. But you know, Auto Club, it's going to be interesting to see how this track behaves tonight. On one hand, you know, we've seen these trucks at these really big open tracks basically treat them as super speedways, right? There's not going to be a lot of off-throttle time that is typical of these big 2-mile D-shaped ovals. However, here at Auto Club, there's so many bumps through these corners, and the tire wear tends to be so high that you can actually get quite a bit of off-throttle time where you wouldn't expect it at a place like Michigan or even maybe Charlotte. I mean, I guess maybe not those tracks as much, but just other tracks that are kind of similar in nature to this. So it's going to be interesting to see how much tire fall off we have, especially considering the reduced fuel load here. Of course, in NSRA, the Simbox Truck Series, we only run a 65% fuel cell capacity, so that really drastically reduces the length of our longer runs. And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, you know, what guys are able to kind of save their right fronts. I anticipate that being a thing if these guys aren't too loose. You know, typically at Auto Club, you tend to really drive off of the right front, especially exiting 2, and you can really scrub that thing if you apex a little too early. And, yeah, Peter, I'm just super excited for this.
Yeah, that is for sure. I'm excited. So these drivers, it's getting to that point of the season where points really do matter. Coming into tonight, Mitchell Adams has a 12-point advantage over Bill Edwards, 19-point advantage there over James Lorello, and then back behind Lorello, it's a long ways back to Doug Milliner in his machine to try and pick up the points title. So I think right now, Drew, we're looking at a 3-horse race between Adams, Edwards, and Lorello, but things can change here tonight because we have a pretty big field here tonight.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, just I was thinking that these last few weeks we've seen such a shakeup that it would bring those other guys back in the fold. But unfortunately, it did a little bit. It gave those guys the opportunity. They just weren't able to capitalize. It guys like Doug Milliner, Ben Adams, TJ Buck is a guy who's had so much pace throughout you know, the races that he's been able to be in. Obviously, Chris Darling had that suspension as a result of contact with James Lorello a few races ago. But yeah, I mean, Mitchell Adams, Bill Edwards, James Lorello, I think those are the 3 guys that have been the 3 fastest drivers consistently all season, and they're very deserving of being in this position, and I expect a heck of a battle for these last 3 races.
Yeah, I do as well. It's going to be a very interesting run to the end of the championship as you see the drivers start to work their way out onto the racetrack. There goes the number 8 machine of Andrew Himmelman coming out in the SimShots Chevrolet. I'm sure we'll see him up near the front at some point here tonight, working his way onto the racetrack right now for 5 minutes of qualifying. And Drew, this racetrack, 2 miles in length, is one of those racetracks where, with these trucks in particular, which punch such a big hole in the air, you might see a lot of drafting, especially in the first 5 to 10 laps of a run.
Yeah, it certainly is going to be a mini Talladega in Daytona. There's not quite as much banking, or at least from the perspective of being a driver, it certainly doesn't feel like there's nearly as much banking here at Auto Club as there is in Michigan. I think Michigan was a quasi super speedway race. I know that these NSRA guys love to turn the horsepower down with the Cup cars at Michigan and run that as a super speedway. You can't quite do that at Auto Club. It's just too bumpy. It's just too abrasive. As you mentioned, the first few laps are absolutely going to be wide open, but then you're really going to start hitting that tire wear fall off, and these guys are going to have to start pedaling it, and it's just going to be interesting to see. We've seen extremes with these trucks and handling as runs have gone on this year, them developing in a very, very tight condition, developing a very loose condition. And, some guys, I think, like James Lorello, tend to really excel at a tighter truck, and I think that what we've seen from Mitchell Adams in that 49 is he tends to excel maybe with a little bit looser truck. And so it's going to be interesting to see how these trucks develop and who that favors. As I just saw the 84 TJ Buck, we're not on camera, just happened to be watching him. He got a little loose with 3 and 4 coming to take the green flag. So that leads me to believe that these guys might be facing a little bit of loose conditions here tonight, Peter.
Yeah, there is that number 84 machine. Love's on the side of that Chevrolet here tonight, running up there on the top side for lap number 1, possibly thinking about maybe being a little bit faster on lap number 2, especially with the fact that he got loose coming out of the corner, Drew. You think that he kind of want to get that thing wound up as much as possible. JT Poole, winner last week out at Bristol Motor Speedway. Folks, we don't have all those fancy graphics here tonight. We're going to try and get them for at least the season finale here in a couple of weeks that JT must have loved so much. But Colin Ullery in the number 62 machine currently sit up in the second position, but so far so good for last week's race winner at Bristol, JT Poole.
Yeah, and just an incredible performance at a JT. I didn't expect that out of him at Bristol. I mean, from his interview, he didn't either. We were expecting, the playoff drivers, right? They've been the ones that have been so quick all year. And, JT's best race before that was the road course at Watkins Glen. And there's I don't think there's more different of a track. Maybe, I guess, the plate tracks, the super speedways, that would be a greater contrast to road courses, but Bristol's up there as far as being as different from a road course as you can be, and it was awesome to see that really cool purple 26 truck take the checkered flag there. As these times keep coming in, that 26 is standing tall there with a full 1/10 of a second between he and that next place truck, that 62 of Colin Ullery. That's a really solid time, Pete.
Yeah, that is for dang sure. There is Bill Edwards right now in the number 50 machine. He's currently just inside the top 10. And speaking of our chase drivers here tonight, going to be really interesting to see how that all shakes out. We'll see if we can actually get those chase drivers for you in yellow here in just a little bit as the number 50 machine comes down into his pit box. Drew, going to be an interesting race here tonight, 125 laps. Let me see if I can get these graphics fixed. But Drew, why didn't you tell the fans what is coming up over the next couple of weeks? Because really, we're going to crown a champion after these next couple of races at ISM Raceway and rounding out the season at Chicagoland.
Yeah, I think ISM is going to be one of those tracks that, we saw it in real life last year. Because of its new configuration and that huge paved kind of runoff that you have in the middle of the corner, it lends itself just to kind of crazy things happening, especially late in races. Quite frankly, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but I'm glad that the finale isn't quite there because I think a little bit too much randomness might kind of, happen at that track. I don't want a champion to be random. I want them to certainly have earned it, and not that any of these top 3 wouldn't have earned it, but I'm really glad that this championship is ending at Chicagoland, which is a track that you just don't see run a lot. It's never one of those tracks that people are like, man, Chicagoland's my favorite type of track. Typically if they like Chicagoland, they prefer one of those other D-ovals a little bit more. But it's going to be a real challenge for these guys, and I think it's going to be a real solid, kind of snapshot of what these guys have raced all year. But here we go, Peter. We got trucks gridding up, and we are getting ready to set the field to go green.
Yeah, JT Poole in the number 26 machine will be picking up this week's Sim Racing Shirts Pole Award in that Ford F-150. So congratulations to last week's race winner on a little bit of a roll. Let's see if we can bring up the starting grid. Colin Ullery will be starting outside JT Poole on row number 1. Row number 2. On the inside, Andrew Himmelman in the number 8 machine, Joshua Sobel in the number 30, who continues to impress here at the back half of the season. Row number 3, Ben Izenga, the 07 machine. Very, very, very quick race car driver in that 07 truck. I expect to see him up near the front here tonight. Same thing with Chris Darling in the number 47 on the outside of row number 3. Row number 4, Philip Scott and David Harvey. David Harvey was filling in for Chris Darling last week, but Darling's back in the field here tonight at Auto Club Speedway, and so Harvey will be in the 05 machine filling in for Steven Doziak here tonight. On row number 5 on the inside and rounding out your top 10, Peter Serto and Monty Glover there, Drew.
And one of those championship guys that we've been talking about, Bill Edwards, will roll off P11 with Jason Freeman. Won his first 2 starts, but hasn't been able to really repeat that success. We'll see what that 94 can do tonight. Nathan Maurer and Doug Neal will bring up the next row in 13th and 14th, respectively. Paul Bilson in that 51 truck, who's kind of had a little bit of a quiet second half of the season. We'll see if he can get that 51 up towards the front, as Ben Mashburn will also be starting to his outside. Robert Dudley, an early season winner, again, not kind of, we've seen these guys kind of, fade in and out as the season's gone on. He's been one of those guys that hasn't been able to replicate that early season success. He'll roll off in 17th position. Jeff Price, another one of our chase drivers in that 14, he will roll off in 18th position. Jamar Dumas in that 28 truck will roll off in 19th, with TJ Buck rounding out our top 20, another chase driver in that 84.
Yeah, then on row number 11, a couple of the chase drivers. That'd be Ben Adams in the number 9 machine of James Lorello. There is Lorello, and that number 9 led the points for a good majority of the regular season and hasn't had it his way over the last couple of weeks. On row number 12, on the inside, that will be the number 42 of Barry Knapp with Travis White to his outside. On row number 13, Mitchell Adams, Steven Doziak. Mitchell Adams in the number 49 is, of course, your points leader. There he is. He's going to have to come from well back in the field here tonight with Steven Doziak in the 34 this week, not the 05 machine. Jeffrey Johnson Jr., Doug Milliner on row number 14. Row number 15, Stan Hausman and Adam Dama in the Army Esports Racing Machine. And then row number 16, Justin White up in the booth with us last night, and Garrett Gleason in the number 7 machine. And I believe that is going to be most of the field. I think Stan Hausman, Tony Lucarelli back there rounding out the field. But let's go back up to the front because green flag is in the flagman's hand here, Drew, and we're about to go green flag here at Auto Club.
TJ Buck, a good solid start there for that 26. I really like how most of the time these guys tend to go on the green flag, just like you would in real life. That is an option here in iRacing. The leader can go whenever they choose to, as soon as that pace truck or pace car pulls off. But good to see a little bit of sportsmanship between some of these drivers. As the 26 now clears that number 8, a number change for Andrew Himmelman. Maybe he's looking to kind of not turn a season around, because it certainly hasn't been anything worth turning around, but maybe just trying to improve that pace that he's had. Some guys are a little bit superstitious, think that, hey man, if I'm not running well, time to change that number up. And hopefully he'll double his results, as he's doubled his number going from that number 4 to that number 8. But looking back through the field, man, this is what we expect at Auto Club. These really, really spread out fields as far as all over the track's concerned. Spread out, not vertically, not in dispersion, but they're going to be running all sorts of different lines here at Auto Club. It's one of those features of this track is that you can run that high lane, you can run that low lane, you can do one of those late arcs to kind of get a good run off, and it'll allow guys to run side by side. As that 8 and the 07 truck now, Ben Izenga is challenging Andrew Himmelman there for 3rd position. Not the best start for the 8. He got up to 2nd position, but he has not been able to really hold that track position thus far here, Peter. And we're starting to see those top 2 as these guys race behind them, pulling away just a little bit.
Yeah, JT Poole, Colin Ullery about a half second ahead of the 07 of Izenga, but looks like Izenga's going to take that spot going through turn number 1 and 2. This is a racetrack that's actually a little bit difficult to pass on here, Drew, because the outside line gets a pretty decent run out of the corners. The inside line can get pinched down, and the white line, that's something we haven't mentioned here tonight. That white line that you see at the bottom side of the racetrack, very easy to clip that. It's quite slippery when you do so, especially if you hit it right in the middle of the racetrack, as we see some good side-by-side battle here. There's the 05. That's David Harvey down there, 971 and Nathan Maurer, 10 of Monty Glover up there, all battling. This is just around the 10th position, which is currently held by the number 50, just a couple of cars in front of where David Harvey is running. But you can just see all these cars fan out in the corner. Really great to see this racetrack is like that. Meanwhile, let's keep an eye on James Lorello in the number 9 machine and Mitchell Adams, the number 9, trying to close in on the 49 in the points tally. But for right now, James Lorello is just in front of Mitchell Adams. Adams already climbing up multiple positions here, +6 in the first 4 laps.
Yeah, both of our, I think the guys that we've expected to be front runners, the number 9 and the number 49, the 9 struggled in qualifying. James Lorello and Mitchell Adams didn't even set a qualifying time. He had 2 incident points, in fact, in qualifying, and was not able to set a time. He definitely ran 2 laps. In just iRacing, when you get those incidents, even if you get a 0x, even if you just tap the wall and iRacing registers it, it will not count that lap for time in qualifying. And that's exactly what happened to that 49 truck. And so, unfortunately, he started towards the back, but he's with basically his championship fellows, so to speak. And, James Lorello and Mitchell Adams both going to have to drive their way to the front. Bill Edwards just a little bit ahead. I think if things ended right now, we'd be darn near a dead heat for that championship, Pete.
Yeah, well, definitely things a little bit interesting up there. You have to remember that currently Bill Edwards right now in that number 50 machine is trying to close in on the top of the chart in that championship, and you see the number 50 right there center of your screen in the S2R Chevrolet. But wow, Lorello really closing in now on Bill Edwards, just 2 trucks behind him. Very, very impressive to see Lorello's climb. Meanwhile, we look at these drivers right here going side by side. That's the 15 of Dudley, the 971 and Nathan Maurer. These two battling it out for the 10th position right now on the racetrack. 9th place currently held by Peter Serto there in the Jansen Chevy Silverado. He's been able to get a little bit of distance on those 2 cars battling for the position. But up at the front, we have a battle brewing for the 2nd position. Ben Izenga has all but caught the number 62 here of Colin Ullery. And Izenga's been so strong on our Monday Night Total Nonstop Racing League races. And here trying to duplicate that in the Truck Series by getting up to the front. He is a very, very fast driver.
He certainly is. A little bit of misfortune that 07's had in his kind of first few races that he's had here in the Simbox Truck Series. He's certainly shown a lot of pace in that 07 truck, but just hasn't quite had the results to back it up. But once again here at Auto Club, we are seeing Ben really, really do well as far as pace is concerned, as he's now getting by Mr. Super Speedway, Colin Ullery up there, doing a good job in that number 62 truck. We've seen him be so successful in the Thursday Super Speedway series that NSRA puts on here on 3Wide TV. But now Andrew Himmelman also trying to follow that 07 by Peter, and maybe losing a few spots here, that 62.
Yeah, the 62 going to slide back to 4th from his outside pole where he started. Back to 4th. It's a long race, though, here tonight, folks. And, of course, with the reduced fuel tank that we see these trucks probably going to be pitting around lap number 24 or so. Somewhere kind of in that window. I'd expect to see these drivers come down, maybe able to stretch it to lap number 30, but somewhere in that kind of window, 24 to 30, you're going to have to think about the benefits of staying out. As you see Andrew Himmelman now go to the inside of the 07 Izenga. Now Himmelman up into the 2nd position. So far, so good for him. He's going to try and close in on JT Poole, who is your race leader, so far leading every single lap, as we now have 9 laps in the books. It is a long race here tonight, 250 miles around Auto Club Speedway. But JT Poole picking up where he left off last week at Bristol.
Yeah, an impressive performance thus far for this 26 truck. Only 10 laps in, but like you mentioned, that's closing in on half of a fuel run here in a few laps. But I'm really impressed with kind of that 8 truck, how Drew Himmelman fell back just a little bit and then was able to kind of figure out what he needed to do to make that truck work, and then recover a little bit. But that fight is not over for 2nd position as Ben Izenga in that 07 fights back on that inside. It's so hard on old tires, as you know here, Peter, at Auto Club, to be able to make that inside work. It's so hard to carry that apex speed that you need in order to stay side by side with that truck down either the front or the back straight. If anything, I think it tends to be a little bit more friendly to that inside lane through 3 and 4, just because the bottom lane just opens up a little bit coming out of 4 versus out of 2. It really pinches off, and it's hard to keep that bottom lane really working for you. As we've seen about the top 7, 8 guys, mostly single file, although once again, going back into turn 3, these guys are fighting for position once again as Ulrich way up the track. That is not where you want to be if you are contesting that position, and I anticipate that he'll lose that position to that 30 truck of Josh Sobel as well.
Yeah, Sobel starting to recover here in that number 30 machine. Started this race in the 4th position, slid back to 7th, and so he is going to try and close in on the number 47 machine of Chris Darling. Currently, Mitchell Adams, your biggest mover of the race so far. Let's see if we can check in on the points leader in that 49 machine. There he is, stuck behind the number 84. That is the 84 this week, driven by TJ Buck. A little bit different look on that race car this week. So Adams kind of stalling out here just outside the top 10. Same thing with Lorello. Lorello in the number 9 machine, he was able to get up to the 12th position and just not able to climb any higher, trying to close in on the back of Nathan Maurer. So your 2 main points contenders, well, 2 of the 3 main points contenders kind of struggling here. And speaking of the other one, the number 50 of Bill Edwards, he's actually lost those positions to those 2. So for right now, advantage to the number 9 machine of Lorello, but he has quite a big margin to close in on the 49 of Mitchell Adams. But we're now about halfway through the first fuel stint, and all these drivers will start to think about coming down pit road. But so far, clean and green for the first 10% of the race.
I'm really interested to see is now we have a battle for the race lead here, Peter. That 07 of Ben Izinga has taken that spot from JT Poole. And honestly, folks, you didn't miss much. He just set that pass up really well through 3 and 4, but we will cue that replay up for you. As you see, Ben Izinga gets a great run out of turn 2, takes it to the inside, going into turn 3, and just sticks it around the bottom, and there's just not much JT can do. I think that's a really good line by JT in that 26 truck, but you just saw Ben Izinga really carry momentum through the apex of that corner and do a fantastic job as now JT Poole. Yeah, here we go. Now Drew Himmelman followed that 07 truck and took second position away from that 26 as in just 2 laps, the 26 of JT Poole went from 1st to 3rd. That's just how fast stuff can change here. And Peter, I was just going to say, we talked about guys kind of stalling out a little bit. It can be really difficult to pass here at Auto Club on older tires, just because there tends to be one kind of ideal line, especially with a fixed setup like we're running here tonight. There typically is an optimal line, and if you deviate from that, you can really start to struggle, kind of like we're seeing out of this 26 truck, quite frankly, Peter. Maybe he pushed his stuff a little bit too hard through the first half of this run, as now JT Poole falling back to 4th position and falling into the clutches of those guys behind him. The 26 might have just driven his equipment off a little bit, and now is paying the price.
Yeah, Jason Freeman gained 9 positions here in the first 15 laps in that number 94 machine. He has got himself onto the provisional podium as of right now. Joshua Sobel also making a move around Chris Darling back behind them, so move him up into the top 5. There he is, now closing in on that number 26 at JT Poole, who's really struggling with that Ford F-150. Sobel now all over his back bumper. Sobel going to look to the inside here in turn number 3. Ooh, man, got a little bit tight there between the 2, but looks like they're going to sort things out. Sobel will have to back off for another lap. Might have got a little bit squiggly there coming out of the corner, as well as the 47 of Chris Darling going to fill his rear view mirror. But as of right now, your top 5, you're not separated by a whole lot, just about 1.3 seconds. Ben Izenga here leading at the Auto Club Speedway in that really good-looking Moroso 07 machine. Also got Lorocco on the hood, Lorocco Auto Parts on that car. As you see, Sobel now looking to make that pass this time on the number 26 of JT Poole, and this would be for the 4th position. So I know we have Joshua Sobel fans in the chat here tonight, and speaking of Josh Sobel and people in the chat, One of those people in the chat is Stay Tuned Sports. Of course, they will sponsor the Simbox Truck Series for next season. They will be the title sponsor, so big shout out to Stay Tuned Sports here in the chat and enjoying themselves here tonight. We got Rich Sobel, Dirt Dogger 93, saying Freeman is the man. Send it, big boy. And speaking of sending it, he has, because while we were looking at that, we have a new race leader. Andrew Himmelman got around the 07 and the 94 followed him. Let's see what happened here.
It's like being the leader's all of a sudden cursed or something, as that 07 truck maybe a little, really out of the groove into the outside wall, in fact, coming out of turn 4, and that allows not a lot of opposition, in fact, from him, as he really struggled to keep that momentum going in that number 07 truck, as we saw the 94 and the 8 get by him in that 07, but he's been able to kind of steady the ship, so to speak, as Isinga now in third position. We've seen a lot of pace out of that 07, but I'm really noticing, Peter, that what it takes for those drivers to get to the lead is really taking a lot of stuff out of their equipment. Is now Drew Himmelman is being challenged by that 94 truck for the race lead, and we haven't seen race winning pace out of that 94 since his second start in his second victory. In fact, not too many races ago, but we're seeing a ton of pace out of Jason tonight.
Yeah, and also the number 30 machine of Josh Sobel just got himself up into the third position, so maybe that number 07 is starting to struggle with that right front damage, but Jason Freeman going to lead his first lap of the night here at Auto Club Speedway. JT Pools led 12, in fact the first 12, and the 07 of Ben Izenga led 4, Himmelman led 2, and Freeman has led 1. Those are your 4 different leaders that we've had so far here tonight. 4 lead changes here in the first 20 laps. 3 lead changes, if I can do the math. But so far, a pretty clean start to the race. Steven Doziak saying hello from a few streets over. Not sure. I hope Steven Doziak is in a few streets away from you. That'd be a bit creepy. Tana Hibbelman saying Ben Adams is up to 13th. He's continuing his charge. As you see, a really impressive show so far out of the Stay Tuned Sports Toyota Tundra of Joshua Sobel as he closes in on the back bumper of the number 8 of Himmelman.
Yeah, that 8 has done a really good job of getting up there. Two of those guys that I kind of personally root for, in Drew Himmelman and Josh Sobel, having a really great run here tonight. As you mentioned, Stay Tuned Sports and NSRA, a really exciting partnership starting the next Truck Series season here in, honestly, not that long, as we only have 3 races to go left in the current season. So a really good drive by both of those drivers, as they have not let that 94 get out too far in front of them. But now looking back at that 26, looking back at, I believe, is that Colin Ullery, Peter? I can't quite make out the number. It is the 62 truck of Colin Ullery. Has he made his pit stop? I believe he has. So lap 21, a little early here. I think these guys would like to get to that 25 marker. I think that would kind of set them up to a nice even round number of stops. But that 62, thinking tires going to make a big difference, and they certainly will. It's just, what does his pit window look like from here on out? Because he's going to gain a ton of time with these fresh tires, Peter, but can he make it in the same amount of stops as everybody else?
Yeah, you're riding on board with one of your podium finishes from last week at Bristol. David Harvey right here in the 05. Nothing runs like a deer. John Deere Toyota Tundra working his way out of turn number 2 right there. So far, that 05 has a little bit of right rear damage, and I think that's actually affecting David Harvey, as he had a really good qualifying run, but he has now slid back to the 19th position here, folks. Back to the front, you're not missing anything. Himmelman still holding on to the 2nd spot in front of Joshua Sobel, although the battle for the 4th position is, well, I was thinking it was starting to heat up a little bit. It is just a smidgen, but back behind them, how about this battle? This is the 44 of Philip Scott, Chris Darling, Robert Dudley, and look who snuck himself up into the 6th position there, dude. That be James Lorello in that SQR machine, so he's really starting to make a move. We saw a brief shot there of the 49 of Mitchell Adams there on the right-hand side of your screen in that blue and orange machine. He is your points leader. Lorello trying to gain as many points as possible, and 2nd place in points right behind Mitchell Adams on the point tally. That's Bill Edwards, and Bill Edwards trying to pick up that spot from the number 49 machine as we got some takers coming down pit road.
The pit stop cycle has begun in earnest. The 26, the 47, the 30, all coming down pit road. Gotta be honest, I didn't really recognize Chris Darling in that 47 truck. Will he get a kazoo, Peter? That's the question that the viewers want to know. Will Chris Darling get a kazoo? Will he not? He's bringing that white, blue, and black 47 old school scheme for. I know he did a redesign for that Max Grafix logo. Here it comes, folks. Is he gonna nail his pit stop? He does. He does. Kazoo for Chris Darling. He gets into his pit stall with no drama.
All right. Hopefully, I didn't wake up the whole house. That was a bit loud. But Chris Darling, kazoo here, and he's going to roll out there onto the racetrack. So he's been doing pretty good. He did it yesterday, where he was able to get into his pit box nice and neatly. So maybe he's learned some tips of from the other driver. So good job there by Chris in the series here tonight after a couple of weeks off. And stay tuned, sports, saying woohoo kazoo. I think that's going to be a new saying here on 3-Wide TV. Woohoo kazoo. There's the number 94 machine who was your leader of Jason Freeman, who's on pit road right now. As you see, live timing and scoring kind of update. The 8 machine right there of Andrew Himmelman also on pit road. In fact, that's just about going to cycle the whole field through, as I think basically everyone pitted, with the exception of Colin O'Leary, either last lap or this lap, as they get their way back out there onto the racing surface.
I gotta say, Peter, I think that maybe Chris Darling in that 47 truck used that suspension time to practice his pit stops. As we saw what happened between he and James Lorello a few weeks back, and the resulting suspension. Maybe he took that time for a little bit of self-improvement with that 47 truck, because he absolutely nailed his pit stops last night and tonight in that 47. Is Drew Himmelman had a really, really solid pit stop, able to maintain that position, as the 26 did as well. Another driver who nailed his pit stop, that 26 of JT Poole. Ben Izenga, Josh Sobel lost a little bit of spots. The big gainer, though, is that 62 of Colin O'Leary, who pitted a little bit early. We mentioned he's going to gain that track position, but now he is at a tire deficit. He pitted on lap 21, lap 22. These guys pitted around lap 24, 25. So he might have gained that track position, but now he's slowly going to lose pace relative to his competitors, just on the sheer basis that his tires are older. But it's how does that balance out? When does he have to pit again? What these guys really want to do is pit at lap 25, lap 50, lap 75, and lap 100. That's a nice even pit strategy. And so he pitted on lap 21, 22. Is he going to be able to stretch that out to lap 20 or lap 47, 48, and then kind of make that up from there? Because you really don't want to be saving a ton of fuel when your competitors don't later in this race.
Yeah, that is true. Oh, the 07 Ben Izenga back end comes out. He's going to save it down there on the bottom side of the racetrack, but that is not what you want to have happen. Drew, we talked about this before the top of the show, between ourselves, saying there's a lot of runoff at this racetrack, and you can just end up doing exactly what Izenga does, and no caution because you're off the racing surface. Let's see if we can go on board with the 07 here of Izenga, working his way through turn number 1 and 2. All things are nice and smooth at this point, but you see the back end start to kick out. He tries to save it, and pointing towards the inside wall. Luckily, the banking, as it flattened out, seemed to help that 07 machine get back righted, but he's going to fall back a couple of positions right now, battling with Peter Serto and the 44 Philip Scott. This is just outside the top 10. So Izenga, one of your early leaders, now outside the top 10, running in 12th.
And I really thought that, based on the way that truck kind of just suddenly over-rotated, is now we're looking at a battle between Drew Himmelman and Jason Freeman, is that 8 is looking to take the race lead, kind of make sure he clears that 94 off of turn 4, and Drew Himmelman, once again our race leader, our first kind of guy that's lost the lead and then been able to take it back. A great job by him. But kind of going back to that 07 truck, I really thought that he clipped the apron there based on how quickly that truck over-rotated, but in fact, he didn't. He just got really loose. And so the problem that 07 is going to be facing now is he's now really overheated those rear tires, and now he's just going to have more of that condition that he just struggled with. And so it's going to be one of those things that the monster kind of feeds itself, and he's going to just be struggling with that oversteer. That is really close racing between Chris Darling and that 15 truck right there. Man, look at that 47 just keep it on the door of Robert Dudley. That was aggressive racing here on lap 31, Peter.
Yeah, I don't think you could put a piece of paper between the 47 and the 15 there, and looks like maybe the 47's got some scrapes on the left-hand side of that truck. That's a little bit now worse for wear, but all things considered, they're able to live to fight another day. As that 15 of Dudley sliding back a little bit. Here comes the 971, and Nathan Maurer going off into the corner, almost clipped the back end of the 82. That is Adam Dama in the Army Esports Racing Machine. You see Dama right there trying to figure out where these couple of trucks are going to be around him. Dama is currently being scored one lap down. In fact, the only truck being scored one lap down right now. Trying to pick up the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award if a caution flag was to fly. But speaking of cautions, we haven't seen those here tonight. We had just eclipsed the 1/4 race distance as the 15. If Dudley gets loose, he's still trying to fight that truck up the racetrack. Man, I think he clipped that apron that we talked about there, Drew. It might have gotten a little bit loose. Let's go back and go on board with the number 15 machine and try and break this down. Going off into the corner, gets a little bit loose, tries to save it, catches that apron, and just kind of shoots him up the racetrack, and a good job of keeping it off the wall, but you can see all that time that he lost.
I have firsthand accounts of how brutal this apron can be. I was leading a B-car race, B-car league race here, quite a few years ago, probably 2015, 2016, and with like 3 laps to go, I clipped the apron through 3 and 4, and needless to say, I had to get way out of the throttle, thing got way sideways, and ended up finishing in the top 5. But it takes one time of just turning in a little bit too much, a little too early, just mispositioning your car just a little bit to clip that apron. And you saw with that 15, he almost tore the wall down. It took him getting way out of the gas in order to avoid smacking that wall. And a good job by the 15 of recovering that truck, but it cost him quite a bit of time. As now we're looking at that 24 truck of Ben Mashburn in 18th position. Kind of a lonely race here for Ben, and not too many guys around him. As now he's in 19th, not quite. He was 18th, 19th. Maybe somebody pitted. Maybe I have no idea. I didn't really see him pass anybody. And then Travis White in that 23 truck, the 23 truck, running in 18th position. These guys about 11 seconds off the race. Lead Stan Houseman in that 39 truck, having a decent run. They're in 23rd position, having started 29th, gained 6 spots thus far. Doug Milner, I don't think is quite that black and red 6 truck in front of him. Not having quite the night that this chase driver really wanted. Started in 28th up to 22nd. Long race, a lot of laps to go. But that 6 is I believe the 4th driver in points, if I'm not mistaken, Peter. And he's going to need to have a little bit better result tonight if he wants to be able to challenge those guys at ISM in Chicagoland.
Yeah, you see Doug Milner right there. Like you said, 4th place in points coming into tonight in the Simbox points tally, and definitely not going to be the night it's open for. As you see Doug Neal there, Mr. Simbox himself. Make sure you check out our friends over at Simbox for all of your button box needs. Definitely a product for the on the 77. Oh, I saw a little bit of smoke there. Was that smoke from a car? It might have been, as I think that's the number 15 of Robert Dudley off the pace, and it looks like it was the 15. Where is he? There he is. Let's see if we can figure out what happened here to the number 15 truck. We saw him have issues a lap or so ago, a couple laps ago in turn number 1 and 2, but what happened in turns number 3 and 4 here, Drew?
You're seeing him racing side by side, the 971 and the 44, and I think the 44 comes up just a bit, taps that 15, and he gets into the outside wall right there. It didn't look like much contact, but I was kind of watching this from his rear chase camera, and he has quite a bit of right side damage, unfortunately, on that 15 truck, and he was just struggling. He's been struggling with that 15 truck a little bit. We saw him get loose earlier right here. That 44 is about a half a lane up. I don't think the 15 is expecting him to be right there. And yeah, you see he taps him, and oh my goodness, that '07 truck. Good Lord, did Ben Izinga avoid a complete catastrophe right there. I never would have thought you could place a truck high of this 15. Watch this. There's no way that should happen. There's no way that should work out for that '07. 9 times out of 10, if you go high on a truck that's spitting out like that, and there's only about a truck and a half width lane available, you're going to get in the outside wall, and it's probably going to be day over for you. But that '07 threaded the needle and made it work, and probably was the best thing that he could have done. He didn't get out of the throttle. He just kind of, saw the gap, throttled up, and kind of close your eyes and hope it works out. As he did a good job. Now looking at that 49 in the pack around him, including the 50. Bill Edwards, now these guys are running about 11th through 15th position. A little bit further back than I think that we were expecting out of Mitchell Adams, considering that the number 9 of James Lorello, Mitchell Adams running next to each other, coming into those pit stops. And now James Lorello up to 5th position, the 49 of Mitchell Adams, 11th. So a considerable gap between those two championship rivals. And I kind of was not expecting this out of Mitchell Adams. I thought he was going to have a little bit more pace here than he has displayed thus far.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised with that as well, although there is still quite a long race here to go. We're probably about 10 laps away from the second round of pit stops here tonight. So far, we've been caution-free, and as you can see, still a lot of action out there on the racetrack. Sometimes those pit stops tend to break up the field, but not here tonight. As you see, the 49 getting a run around the number 44 of Philip Scott, working their way through turn number 3 and 4. TJ Buck, computer issues. He is off track right now. We don't have an official retirement here tonight just yet, but at least for right now, that number 84 is off the racetrack and currently being scored at 7 laps down. So we'll see whether or not he can get back out there onto the racetrack. But we're watching Peter Sarto lead this little train of trucks as the 14 there, Jeff Price, 44, Philip Scott, and Bill Edwards in the 50 creeping into the picture as they head down the backstretch. Good battle here just outside the top 10. Price is currently holding on to the 12th position. Peter Sarto just outside the top 10 in 11th. But Mitchell Adams just was able to get around Peter Sarto, get inside the top 10. So we'll continue to see him climb up through the field, that is for sure. But he's 10 seconds right now behind the battle for the race lead, because Jason Freeman was able to get around Andrew Himmelman, Drew, while we were talking about all that madness happening further back in the pack. But Himmelman's not letting that 94 go anywhere.
Certainly isn't a fantastic job by that 8 truck, as the 26 and the 30 have fallen off quite a bit. That 26, 2.8 seconds off a race leader. The 30, almost 5 seconds off a race leader. Drew Himmelman's the only one really in contact with our race leader. And, you can really learn a lot by watching your competitors and just kind of driving their lane, seeing what they're doing, where are they letting off, where are they turning in, what can they do better. And sometimes it can really pay off to just kind of watch and pay attention and learn from those guys that maybe at some point are quicker than you. But if you kind of learn what they're doing and try to get a little bit better, you could get back by them. As now we're looking at this 5 truck of Ben Adams. This is for 23rd position. All right, I apologize, clicked on the wrong truck. This is for 7th position. I apologize to Ben for that one. They are running right there with Ben Izinga and Nathan Maurer. So that happens when you click on the wrong truck, folks, and you focus on them, and it's a totally different truck running in a totally different position. But Ben Izinga, honestly, Peter, a pretty solid recovery from being dead sideways off the 2, a little bit of right front damage as well. I would not have thought that this 07 would have been able to keep this truck in the top 10.
Yeah, I was definitely surprised as well. I mean, he slid all the way back to 12th, and you have to think of that moment that he had with the number 15 machine of Robert Dudley. Dudley now having his struggles all the way back to 24th position, but at least right now the 07 of Izinga clawing his way back up through the field. Contact with the number 5, and for the second time, the 07 of not Nathan Maurer, but Ben Izinga goes for a big slide in turn number 3 and 4. Drew, let's break this one down.
Well, Ben Izinga's had an eventful night, as you'll see that 5 truck to his inside just didn't quite turn in. I think the way that Izinga, or quite frankly, I would expect. I think the 5 misses turn in a little bit and got into that left rear of that '07. And once again, that '07 did a fantastic job. I can't imagine what's going through the '07's mind. He gets himself loose. He dodges the 15 truck, and then he gets tapped by that 5. A lot of uneventful races thus far. You certainly could not say that about the '07 of Izinga. Down to 14th position, 15th, as the 28 has been able to get by in this lap. And now struggling a little bit through 3 and 4, but man, that '07 has had a roller coaster of a race.
That he has. We're watching this battle right here. This is the battle for 6th position between Chris Darling and Nathan Maurer. Maurer going to drop to the inside in that 971 Silverado. Get past that Tundra by Darling. Back in the race here tonight. It looks like we're getting word that the 62 of Colin Ullery has come down and made his second pit stop. So that will begin the second sequence of pit stops. We expect most of our leaders on pit road here in the next 4 to 5 laps or so, as we expect to see a four stop strategy here tonight, barring some caution flags and all that. But at least for right now, some great racing here just outside the top 5.
Absolutely. Some fantastic racing throughout the field. I'm sure a certain '07 driver would hope that it'd be a little bit cleaner at some point for him, as once again, Ising has had a heck of a night. But focusing back up on this battle for the front, the 8 hasn't been able to show his nose on that 94, but he certainly is not letting him just kind of have free reign over that race lead, as he has been basically hounding Freeman this whole run. And Hillman just basically in his wheel tracks this whole fuel run. As we're on lap 47, folks. We are rapidly approaching the second round of pit stops. I'm really worried about that 62 truck, Peter, if I'm honest. He pitted on lap 44, 45. That's another... so he pitted about 3 or 4 laps short. That last time he actually had more of a deficit to when you would want to pit. This time by, he's playing the tire game, but the fuel's kind of more important. You can burn off your tires a little bit. If you run out of fuel, you're out of fuel. Rarely on the oval side, with the exception of the 87 cars, do you run out of tires, like truly run out to where you blow one. As now the 8 truck challenging that 94 for the race lead. It's so hard to make that inside. He took a really shallow entry in 1 and 2, and it can be really hard to make that work, as here comes the 94. Can he fight back on the outside? Coming out of 2 down the backstretch, the 94, maybe a little bit of side draft right there. Pulls close to even going into turn 3, but I think that 8's positioned himself pretty well to be able to make it work through 3 and 4. Will the 94 cross him over? He can't. The 8 keeps it tight on the bottom. And I thought for a second that maybe Himmelman was coming down pit lane, but he is not. And now Drew Himmelman, for the 3rd time tonight, will be leading this race.
Yeah, we're getting confirmation of the number 84 TJ Buck. Those computer issues have forced him out of the race, but we have caution flag here tonight, and it is none other than the 47 machine, Chris Darling, making his return to competition here tonight. And there was definite contact here going off into the corner. And in fact, this is the 50 here of Bill Edwards going down to the inside of Darling. Was there contact? Yes, there was. And oh, yikes! That is a painful impact. Chris Darling's engine kablamo. S2R and Chris Darling getting into it with one another once again.
I think that the initial contact was, unfortunately for Chris Darling, netcode. We've seen a little bit of connectivity problems for the iRacing servers. Yeah, there's, like, if you watch right here, folks, this will be a great angle. Right about here, you see there's no contact, but the trucks are interpreted as having contacted by the sim, and unfortunately, that just sends the 47 hard into the outside wall. And that is probably going to be day done for that 47. There are no fast repairs here in the Simbox Truck Series, unlike the NSRA Thursday Super Speedway Series. So I anticipate that 47's done. And quite frankly, he was running the door of that 50 truck, right? Those are the potential outcomes when you drive guys like that, Peter, and that's just what happened to that 47.
Yeah, watch this. Just shot way up the racetrack. That is reminiscent of what we saw Dale Earnhardt Jr. have in his accident back here, I think in 2002. Very, very painful incident there, but we do expect to see all of our leaders coming down pit road on cue, coming down to their pit box here. And Drew, one thing about this racetrack is that these are the largest pit boxes that we go to all season long. So sometimes that sometimes works against you in iRacing, because it can be sometimes difficult to find exactly where your marks are. The iRacing virtual pit box, if you will, is a fixed value. It is a fixed width. It is a fixed length. So even though these pit boxes are the longest pit boxes that we have, it sometimes makes it a bit more difficult because of that very fact that iRacing and real life pit boxes don't exactly jive one-to-one with one another. But Andrew Himmelman going to try and win the race off pit road. JT Poole is moving. I think Himmelman did win that race off of pit road over Jason Freeman. It was very tight between those two, as you see the rest of the field work their way off pit road. But if you're just now joining us here on 3Y TV, first caution flag of the night coming on lap number 50, but we're going to have to re-rack him and do it all over again. You see Bill Edwards there, a long pit stop for him. I think he elected to use some of that fast repair. And folks, got to try and figure out who that Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award winner is going to be. Not 100% sure who it was, in all honesty. So we'll see if we can dial up who that might be. Wouldn't that be great if it went to Stan Hausman, owner of Brookstone Animal Hospital himself? That'd be very fitting. Let's see if we can figure out who that Lucky Dog Award winner is under the first and only caution flag that we've had here tonight on the racetrack. And Drew, it really has been a great race so far, and we want to thank each and every one of you guys for tuning in for the race here tonight.
Yeah, some exceptional action now closing in on the end of the first half of this race. But yeah, man, these cautions go by so quick here at Auto Club. We already have the one to go here. But some exceptional racing early on in this race. The 07 having an eventful first half. Getting loose by himself, avoiding a spinning 15 car in front of him, and then having a little bit of contact as well between he and Philip Scott. But he kind of, now that this caution happened, he probably got that 07 truck all fixed up. Unfortunately for Chris Darling, first caution of the night, who kind of resets not resets, just basically, it's almost like stage racing with that caution timing on right around lap 50, which is kind of the fuel window for these guys. Chris Darling, unfortunately, out. Our only caution of the race, but some great racing up front between the 94, the 8, and the 26, who have been so quick, but don't look too far, folks, on the inside of that third lane. The guy who's made a ton of ground early on in this race, that number 9 of James Lorello, and right behind him, his main championship rival for the vast majority of the season, that 49 of Mitchell Adams as well, Peter. And this is kind of reset for those guys, and now it's all to gain, all to race for as we take them back green here at Auto Club.
Yeah, I mean, those guys started way back in the pack. Now they're up near the front. What can they do as the pace car heads down pit road? Not sure, folks, who the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award was. Caution flag. But big shout out to them for sponsoring the Lucky Dog Award. In fact, they'll be sponsoring a new award next season as we're back underway. Andrew Himmelman going off into turn number 1. We got one car slow down there. In fact, that is Stan Hausman in that number 39 machine. A lot of damage on that Ford F-150. So not sure what's happened with Stan, but something must have happened to that Ford, unfortunately. Is there something happening on the racetrack? No, that's just some connection issues that one driver is experiencing. But for right now, Andrew Himmelman leading the race over JT Poole, your winner from last week at Bristol. Your pole sitter here tonight is going to try and Josh Sobel in the 30 machine. What just happened to him? There must have been a little bit of contact, maybe he got loose. But the number 30 machine, just a big slide through turn number 3 and 4. Let's see if we can see what happened here on the replay, Drew.
I don't think he clips the apron, Peter. I can't quite tell from that. But that 30 truck gets dead sideways, and he was still sideways and kind of regaining that through 3 and 4 as well. And now he is lost a ton of positions. Now running right in front of that 50 truck of Bill Edwards. That would place him right around, just looking through the field trying to find that 50 truck, right around the tail end of the top 15 or so. Yeah, about 14th, 15th position is Josh. But up front, that 8 truck battling the 26 of JT Poole. The 94 Jason Freeman, this doesn't surprise me a ton here, Peter. We saw that 94 not have a ton of early pace in that first run, but he kind of saved his stuff and really showed what he was capable of later in that run as JT Poole now looking to the outside. We saw him show so much pace early on in that first run, and will the 26 kind of learn from that? Will he be able to save his stuff a little bit more? It certainly doesn't seem like it's a priority right now, as he got a little loose maybe through 3 and 4, took that thing really wide, looking to get a run on Drew Himmelman down the front stretch.
Yeah, Andrew Himmelman will lead his 15th lap here tonight. Jason Freeman so far has led the most laps at 24. JT Poole has led 12, so your top 3 here tonight have been the class of the field. And one thing about this caution flag is I wonder how this is all going to work out for the 07 machine of Ben Izinga. Remember, he had his troubles, currently running back in 18th position. This might give him an opportunity to kind of reset that 07 truck, get some damage fixed if there was any damage on it, and work his way back to the front, because we have seen a lot of pace out of him. Just hasn't been having any luck here in the Simbox Truck Series over his first few starts. But folks, we're closing in on the halfway mark here in tonight's California 250 in the Simbox Truck Series. We only have 3 races left in the championship, including tonight. You see the championship drivers over there in yellow on the left-hand side of the screen as Andrew Himmelman. Oh, Himmelman there got onto that apron, Drew, and you could see a big wiggle out the back of that number 8 truck, and it looks like he's going to lose at least 2 positions, going to slide up in front of Lorello. But that apron, you mentioned it, it is pretty deadly down there, as here comes Jason Freeman in the 94 machine trying to go for the race lead, trying to get past JT Poole. He's led the most laps here tonight, and it looks like he's going to clear him coming out of 4.
Yeah, Peter, I've always been so jealous of Kevin Harvick. I know you know in your peak NASCAR fandom days, you are a Kevin Harvick fan. He could always stride, like straddle the transition between the apron and the racing groove, racing banking, I guess, and kind of de-wedge that car and make it work. I have no idea how he's ever able to do that, because every time I do it, I just crash and destroy my car. And that's what we've seen here tonight. What we just saw to that 8 truck, he just barely tapped it and just wasn't able to make it work. How could it? Is that realistic in iRacing, do you think, to be able to do what some of those guys do in real life, which is to de-wedge that car? Oh, the 94 gets really loose here, Peter, and he's now going to lose quite a few spots as these trucks seem to be really loosening up.
Yeah, which is actually interesting, because usually as the temperature goes down, usually you get more grip. Let's see exactly what happened here to the number 94. Jason Freeman was your race leader. JT Poole right behind him, and I don't know if he hit that apron or it just got loose, but great job of that 94 for saving it, and good job there by JT Poole not to run into the back of Jason Freeman, as they had a moment there on the front stretch as well, getting pretty tight. You see Philip Scott there slicing and dicing his way through. But all of a sudden, the 94 Freeman has slid back to the 6th position. Now under fire from the 971 is the 44 Phillips. Scott has some connection issues, but here comes James Lorello. Same thing with Mitchell Adams. They're now running 3rd and 4th. The cream rises to the top here in the Simbox Truck Series as we close in on the halfway mark. It'll be halfway in about 3 laps from right now. As you see, lots of connection issues out of that 44 National Ninja League machine of Philip Scott. And speaking of Philip Scott will be on the next season of American Ninja Warrior. Of course, he was on American Ninja Warrior a couple of seasons ago, so big shout out to him, and we wish him best of luck in that competition. As now the 49 of Adams, he tries to get underneath the 9, and here comes the 44 of Philip Scott trying to pick up that spot. Scott's going to go all the way down to the bottom of the racetrack there, down on the apron, trying to get as much time as possible. And I'm a bit surprised we haven't seen more cars using that apron here tonight, Drew. I'm a big supporter of using that apron pretty much every single lap here, especially when you're out there by yourself.
Yeah, you can certainly save time, and I think with these current trucks and the current kind of big oval setup, it's not that big of a deal. But I know that with like especially the old COT, Peter, I'm sure you remember. Oh, the 9 of Lorello, the 94 maybe get together a little bit now. 3 wide through 3 and 4, as that really hung out Lorello, and that is not what he wanted to see. Is that 49 scooting off into the distance for him? We'll get that replay queued up for you. He gets kind of just shoved out of the way by the 94, the 971, and Nathan Maurer also puts him in a compromising position, and that's about 5 positions for James Earl that he lost right there. He went from 4th down to 8th. So 4 positions to be precise. As yeah, you'll see right here that 94, that is a late lunge, right? That is like an F1 when a guy under braking decides to just throw it underneath you when there's no real way to make that work. And that just really caught out Lorello. I don't think there was any contact. It just really didn't expect that move from the 94. And now he is way back now, still battling 3 wide with that number 14 and 32 trucks of Peter Certo, Josh Sobel's in that. I believe that's Jamar Dumas in that black truck to the outside. And, man, this is not going James Lorello's way as of late.
We will be halfway home this time. Andrew Himmelman, the number 8 machine, up at the front of the field. Timely move to get back up to the front of the field. You want to lead at the halfway mark. He just made the move on JT Poole to get back up front. So he now has led 16 laps here tonight in that SimShots Chevrolet. JT Poole to his outside was your Sim Racing Shirts Pole Award winner at the start of the night, but that 26 trying to go back-to-back in the Simbox Truck Series. He goes way wide coming out of turn number 4. Andrew Himmelman will lead the race. Look at Jason Freeman there in the number 94. He's starting to creep back into the picture after his little hiccup that he had a couple laps ago. Mitchell Adams there now slid back to 5th. I think he was briefly up into 3rd, but Jason Freeman just going to blast on by JT Poole in turn number 1 and 2. So move Poole now back to 3rd as we're starting to see what we saw under that first run there, Drew, where he was very quick out of the gate, but started to lose time as the race and run went on. He's now back to 3rd, so hopefully Poole can stop the bleeding as he's got your reigning Simbox Truck Series champion and current Simbox points leader, Mitchell Adams, right behind him. And Nathan Maurer there. Solid night for this 971 machine, currently inside the top 5.
A really good run by Nathan Maurer. As we saw that 26, I think, about used his stuff up out of 4. I mean, he came within a couple inches of that outside wall, and you can just kind of tell when that truck's not turning like they want. It just was almost on like a dead path, right? Where it didn't look like there was anything that he could have done to kind of alter what that truck was doing. And it just kind of, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. It's kind of hard to describe to the audience, but basically when you're maximizing the grip out of that truck, it's basically just going to take a certain path. It's almost like an orbit around the track, right? Where it is based on its momentum, it's going to take a certain path, and that's what it seems like that 26 is doing. That he really isn't in super control of that truck on exit. The truck's just kind of doing what it needs to do because it just seems like, once again, that right front's pretty used up, and so he's at the very limit of grip on the exit of turn 4, and he's just coming so close to that wall. And Auto Club being a really fast track, being so aero sensitive, if you get into that outside wall, it can really, really ruin your day. As now we're seeing the number 9 of James Lorello start to recover there as he is on the inside of that 26, and now looking at the 44. Yeah, here we go. As James Lorello, watch the difference in that purple truck and Lorello. You see how wide TJ has to take it, just because that truck just seems to be pushing out of the corners like he burned up his stuff a little bit, versus that 9 was able to keep it a little bit lower, and just it seemed like his truck was just able to turn more, versus that was all that 26 could do, was to get off the exit of that corner and take that huge wide arc off. Versus sometimes you want to keep it a little bit tighter and kind of cut that truck back down a little bit. As here comes James Lorello making a move on Philip Scott. That will be for the 5th position, not quite able to do it. We'll see if he can cut back underneath that 44. As man, that can be so distracting, Peter, to have a truck in front of you blinking like that, because all of a sudden he's gone, he reappears, and now you've missed your let off and your turn-in point going to the corner. But here he comes. Nice run through 3 and 4, able to tuck in under that 44, coming onto the front stretch. That's a really good position for that 9 going into the corner. You always want to get your front wheels ahead of their front wheels going into the corner when you're trying to make a pass here at Auto Club. Otherwise, you're kind of setting yourself up for not a great situation, as that 9 is able to clear him, as Josh Sobel and JT Puller racing just a little bit further back. And we're seeing quite a bit of action here, Peter, for fairly late in this run, as we only have about 5 laps until I expect these guys on the pit road.
Yeah, I think they'll be able to make it to lap number 5 at the very least, because of the fact that they did get a couple of laps under caution. So that will at least get them into the window where they'll just need one more pit stop to make it to the checkered flag here tonight. But Josh Sobel in that number 30 machine, running right behind the number 14 of Jeff Price. You see a little bit of damage on the front end of that 14, but Sobel had that big hiccup just after we went green flag, and he's done a good job here recovering, trying to work his way back up towards the top 5. You can see him getting on the loud pedal just a little bit earlier than the number 14 machine. Had to check up, but up at the front of the field, Jason Freeman, Andrew Himmelman, we're side by side for the race lead. Freeman going to come away with it in that number 94 machine. So Freeman back up to the top. So far, the driver who has led the most laps. He's led 3 laps more than the number 8 machine right behind him. These front 2 really been the class of the field, but look who's now lurking inside the top 3 right behind him. Of course, that is Mitchell Adams in that blue and orange 49 machine, the Simbox points leader. And then you got one of the Simbox trucks, Nathan Mowers, worked himself up into the 4th position right in front of James Lorello in the number 9. And I know that Lorello, he wants to walk home with a win. He's won many times this season in that number 9 machine. But I think it's all going to come down to these last couple of pit stops, Drew. We talked about the money stop and not making mistakes. And these drivers are going to have a lot of pressure to get into their pit box nice and smoothly.
Absolutely they are. We should, barring any unforeseen circumstances, which are certainly not out of the realm of possibility, but we should have 2 more stops around lap 75, and then one final time on lap 100, which should take them to the end, again, barring any cautions or anything like that. Just kind of looking at tire fall off here, Peter, as we focus on Jamar Dumas, Travis White, and that 5 truck as well. Looking basically when these guys pitted here on right around lap 50, they ran, looking at our leader, Jason Freeman, ran a 41.8, his first lap under green, first full lap, now running 42.7, so actually only about a second. I was expecting a little bit more fall off from these guys here at Auto Club, because, I mean, this is kind of what Old Atlanta used to be, right? Rockingham. Those tracks were known for just destroying your tires, and I think that Auto Club is pretty much as close as it comes to what those tracks used to do. About as big a fall off as you can expect of any of the current kind of modern NASCAR tracks, even though I say modern and current. Auto Club is not scheduled, of course, in 2021 for the NASCAR Cup Series or National Touring Series. But, I mean, that's kind of a different circumstance as, world conditions allow. But looking back up in the race, James Lorello now in the top 5, getting by Nathan Maurer in 971, not looking like he is totally content to let that 9 get by him. But once again, how many times have we seen it this season, Peter? The number 9, the number 49, 3rd and 4th, I mean, not nose to tail, but certainly running in sequence on track. And this is what we've seen so much out of these 2 drivers. The most consistent, most consistently quick guys we've seen all season. And of course, they're battling each other for the championship late in the season. But this number 9 really needs to finish ahead of this 49. He can't let Mitchell Adams extend that points lead on him. He's got to make ground tonight. Otherwise, these last 2 races are going to be very difficult for him.
Yeah, absolutely. We go a little bit further back. Ben Adams racing Jamar Dumas, as well as Travis White, Bill Edwards going toe-to-toe with one another through turn number 3 and 4. Looks like the 5 and 23 will take the better of those 2 battles, at least for right now. But here comes the 28 machine. Dumas still trying to get around the outside of the number 5, just not quite able to do so just yet here, as we're closing in on when we expect to see these trucks on pit road. Working lap number 74 right now. Pit window will be open here, I believe, either this lap or the next lap. So it's going to be fun to see how many of the... Oh, Ben Izenga, the 07 machine, throwing out a lot of sparks back there in the back of the pack. Let's see if we can get this one here on the 3-wide TV replay. And, well, you can't see it all too much because of the graphic that was there. But really throwing up quite a few sparks. Let's get one more look at it coming out of the corner. There's the wall, and right in front of Justin White in that number 2 machine. So definitely tough night. Ben Izenga is on pit road right now. Speaking of pit road, we got Philip Scott in the number 44 machine. He's come down pit road. There he is We got Justin White, Adam Dama also coming down pit road, but no leaders just yet. No one in the front pack. Really, the 44 Philip Scott was the highest placed driver to come down pit road, but surely we're going to see drivers on pit road this time by.
Yeah, I would have expected guys to short pit a little bit, at least amongst the leaders. I'm really surprised that none of these guys are. I mean, we're talking about now, after a few laps of turn since I brought it up, about a second and a half fall off, maybe 1.2, 1.5 seconds, depending on the driver, since these guys last pitted. And that's, I mean, if James Lorello pitted one lap before these other drivers, he would very likely come out in the race lead. And, you know, if you pit one lap earlier than the guys around you, you're not going to be at a huge tire deficit. So it's kind of surprising to not see anybody pit on lap 74 now that we're on lap 76, because it just it's going to give you a little bit of an advantage. And I think these guys can probably go 26 laps. It gets really tight on pit lane entry. The 8 really conservative. The 9, the 49 not so conservative as JT Poole gets dead sideways behind him in that 26 truck, but he was able to keep it under control, but just barely, as he came in ahead of that 30 truck. Yeah, we'll cue that replay up for you guys as we'll watch this 26 truck. He comes in hot, and you'll see right at the last second trying to split those guys, get it woed down, and you'll see this thing yaw out right here trying to get around everybody, and luckily JT able to get that thing back under control. No real drama, but that's about a half second away from wrecking probably 4 or 5 trucks coming onto pit road, as now these guys exiting their pit stalls, the race leaders. The 94, a great pit stop. The 8, the 49, the 9, all right with each other. 94 gapped him a little bit. That conservative pit entry by Drew Himmelman didn't do him a lot of favors as far as track position is concerned, as the 49, the 9 are all over the tailgate of that SimShots truck.
Yeah, you better look out back of the number 94 of Jason Freeman. You can see that gap that he's developed now. This racetrack, like we mentioned, it's big enough where it has some similar tendencies to super speedways. So this little group here of 3, which is Andrew Himmelman, the 49 of Mitchell Adams, and the 9 of Lorello, we'll see if they can track down the number 94 of Freeman, as they are currently about a second and a half behind that 94 truck as of right now. Bill Edwards, he is still out there. Take that back. He just coming off pit road in the number 50 machine. He elected to stay out an extra lap. Same thing with Jamar Dumas in the number 28, but both of those trucks now making their final not final, but penultimate pit stop here, presumably, if we can go green flag to the end of the race. If you're just now joining us on 3Y TV, welcome to the channel, and hopefully you're enjoying the National Sim Racing Association Simbox Truck Series here tonight at Auto Club Speedway. We have only had 1 caution flag in the first 75 laps, and hopefully we can keep that all the way to the end. If you are a fan of 3Y TV and you joined us a couple nights ago here in the American Sim Racing Series, we were right here at Auto Club Speedway, a 100-lap event for that one. Only 1 caution in that one as well, so this racetrack lending itself to a lot of green flag racing as the sun setting here in the west coast of California. And you see your current Simbox points leader right there, the number 49 machine of Mitchell Adams, one of your chase drivers. Just 2 races left in the championship left after tonight. ISM Raceway Phoenix next week, and then we round out the 2020-2021 Simbox Truck Series at the beautiful Chicagoland Speedway for a 160-lap event there, 240 miles to determine who will be our champion. But for right now, the 49 of Mitchell Adams is exactly where he wants to be, up inside the top 3. As you see, the second and third place drivers really starting to close in on the number 94 of Freeman. Is maybe a little bit of a wiggle out the back of the 49 machine.
That 49 a little sideways there, racing that number 8 of Drew Himmelman. And I think there's probably a little bit of urgency there to that 49 truck, as he can see what this point situation potentially looks like if he gets by this 8. Now looking at that 77 of Doug Neal running right around 15th position, as he gets by, I believe, was that the 50 truck? I couldn't quite make that out. I don't think so. It just looked like the 50 truck, I guess.
It was the 50 truck. You're right.
Yeah, what happened to Bill Edwards? Because he was up in about 8th, 9th position the 50 way off pace.
Well, he elected to stay out an extra lap in that number 50 truck, and I believe, Drew, I think he elected to take only 2 tires on that pit stop. I'm looking at his pit stop time, and it was notably shorter than some of the other trucks around him, a 12.3-second stop. And Drew, you and I know that in iRacing, it isn't very often that 2 tires pays dividends. And I think that's what the number 50 of Bill Edwards is experiencing right now. But, folks, caution flag has come out. You saw the stricken number 24 machine of Ben Mashburn on the front stretch. I was just about to mention, he was one of those drivers who did the same thing as Bill Edwards on 2 tires, and sometimes 2 tires makes you a little bit loose. And the 24 of Mashburn just going around there, coming out of turn number 4, starts to come back up the racetrack, and that's what brought out the caution right there, because he was back up on the racing surface. But that will be the second caution flag here tonight. Ben Mashburn bringing it out, but luckily no significant damage with any car on this one. I think the number 50 of Edwards is definitely going to have to come down pit road because it was just not working out for him here under this particular yellow flag, or under that particular run, excuse me. We'll figure out who's going to be the Lucky Dog Award under this particular caution. Ben Izenga, the 07 machine, has taken it behind the wall as well. So Ben Izenga, one of your early race leaders, no longer on the racetrack, so we're down to 28 trucks.
Fortunate circumstances for that 07, as I think that pounding of the wall, not too far before that caution probably ended his hopes, and that 07's not running for points or anything. So typically, once you have a guy who's not that he's running part-time, he's basically run every race since he started. But once those guys don't have a relatively competitive truck, there's not a lot of incentive for them to continue. So totally understandable from that 07 truck. But what are these guys going to do here, Peter? A lot of these guys just pitted. Do you think 2 tires is viable? We've seen guys massively struggle with 2, getting a little too loose as the 49 stays out. I am shocked by that. The 49 of Mitchell Adams stays out. Everybody else that I can see pitted. And I got to imagine that James Lorello is just looking at this opportunity going, I can't believe that 49 just did that.
I agree. I can't believe the 49 stayed out. Yes, it was only about 5 or 6 laps on his tires, but that can definitely work to his disadvantage. You're keeping your eyes here on the number 51 machine. That is Paul Bilson. He is your Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award winner under the second caution flag of the night. There he is, blasting his way down the backstretch. Currently going to be in the 26th position, so we'll be back to 26 cars on the lead lap. But Jason Freeman going to win that race off pit road right there. So he's going to hold station, first truck on pit road, first truck off pit road here on 3 Wide TV. So Drew, this race, second caution flag, we say cautions tend to breed cautions, but we've seen a lot of green flag running here tonight. Do you expect to see more cautions here in the closing laps?
It's up to these guys. I mean, no, based on Auto Club and based on what we've seen tonight, which is single car incidents for the most part. The 47, I guess, was technically multi-car, but only one car was actually involved in the crashing. Same with the 24. I'm kind of surprised that the 24 incident even brought out a caution. I guess that last little bit where he slid back up off the apron onto the racetrack is what brought it out. But I expect hard racing that could result in cautions, but it's kind of hard to cause a caution here at Auto Club. So I think if there's one more caution, there's probably going to be a rash of cautions. But it's not that late in the race, right? 40 laps to go at Bristol is late in the race. 40 laps to go here at Auto Club. That's a long time. That's still 80 miles plus that we have left here. So I think that it's not full urgency mode. If this were 15 laps to go, I would say, yeah, this is a situation that's setting itself up for caution after caution. But I think there's enough time left where these guys still know that there's a lot of racing to go and a whole green flag run worth, a green flag and a half run, basically. Like, these guys are going to have to make a green flag pit stop if it goes green from here. So I don't think so, but it's ultimately up to these drivers and how they race each other.
Yeah, that is for sure. Folks, if you're in the chat, we've only got 2 thumbs up for tonight's race. We only have 2 likes. So let's see if we can set a goal for 10 likes. If you're watching the stream right now, hit that thumbs up button. Let's see if we can hit that goal of 10 here before the end of the night, especially with us under caution. It's probably a good time to hit that like button if you are enjoying the action here in the Simbox Truck Series, the National Sim Racing Association. We'll get all these drivers here lined up and re-racked for this restart. The pace car lights, I believe they had turned off, but now they turned back on. So we will go an extra lap here. We'll presumably have a 39 lap count when we go back to green flag. Must have been something a little bit further back in the pack. The field or the administrators just weren't all too excited about. You can kind of see there Monty Glover and a couple of the other trucks trying to get lined up in the right positions. And Monty Glover, they're trying to go 3 wide up the middle. You don't typically see that here under pacing, but looks like they get things settled back down right for at least right now. But now with the pace car lights turning off, it's going to be a really interesting one as you see the field coming down. Really good looking racetrack, this one, Drew. I know you said that you've been here. I know you've been here. I think you were at that infamous IndyCar race where it was like 110 degrees or something ridiculous like that. But this racetrack has been known to put on some pretty decent racing, especially with the old racing surface that it has nowadays.
Yeah, I've been in some really hot places. Austin in August. I've been in East Africa in the late summer, which was pretty horrendously hot. But I think Auto Club in August, and I think that was 2015, was probably the hottest place on earth that there's ever been. I've never sweat so much in my life, but it is a really cool facility. The only other oval I've ever been to is Texas, so it's a totally different scale. That half mile makes a huge difference as far as a viewer is concerned in person. Seen some great races here, some great memories, and it's really cool to race at a track that you've been at. Texas the same way. COTA, for both you and I, we've both been to COTA. I don't know, 100,000 times. So it's always really cool to race at a track that you've been at, and to watch a virtual version as well. Knowing this track so well. But yeah, Mitchell Adams here staying out, leading this field to green. Will he get those tires all spun up? Will he be able to get that truck pointed in the right direction? He does. No tire spin yet from that 49 is a good restart by Mitchell Adams. The 94 not quite as good as he takes that thing back to the inside lane as we're seeing a few blinkers throughout the field right there. But Jason Freeman slots into second, Andrew Himmelman into third, and James Lorello is the 44 going to get to his bumper. He does, and the 9 gets a little loose there, Peter, as we talked about. It's up to these guys to race each other clean, and that 44 was certainly aggressive.
Yeah, that 44 all over the back bumper, but here comes JT Poole in the 26. We've seen so much short run pace out of that number 26 machine here tonight. He's going to split them 3 wide on the bottom side, and JT Poole going to take a 2-for right there, 2-for-1 in a single corner, and Lorello now has to fight with Josh Sobel, who's closing up in behind him. That number 30 has been fast here tonight. Perhaps this can be a little bit of a reset for Josh Sobel. Here is back up at the front. The 49 machine of Mitchell Adams continues to lead. He's on those older tires, but so far looking so good for him.
Yeah, I think it's once those guys around them come up to temp, I think that's where we're going to see that 49 really start to struggle. As right now he is doing a good job, though, holding off the 94, holding the 8. Maybe that 49 just needs clean air. We shall see. But now looking back at 4th, 5th, and on back, the 44 of Philip Scott racing the 26. The 9 of James Lorello kind of has stabilized at this point and kind of recovered a little bit. Sometimes when you have that big loose happen is that 44 just packed the air under that rear bumper of the 9. Basically what we saw happen, folks, is I don't think there was contact between that 44 and the 9. Basically, the aerodynamics of these trucks, when you get right up behind the truck in front of you, you actually basically push the air that's on the nose of your truck up under the rear bumper of the truck in front of you, and that physically lifts that truck up a little bit, which reduces the amount of grip on that rear tire. And that's basically what we saw from that number 9 truck, is he just got real sideways as iRacing does simulate aero stuff. It does simulate what would happen if that situation were to arise, and we just saw that 9 get too much air packed under that rear bumper, just it get lifted and get a little loose. But he's recovering, getting now back under. That 26 is back up front. The 49 has lost the race lead to the 94. I think this was inevitable, Peter, based on what we thought the tire strategy would be. It took a little bit. That 94 needed to get up to speed, get some temp in those tires. But now that he has that, Mitchell Adams going to be struggling, and I think it's only going to get worse, right? I think these tires tend to kind of fall off on an S curve, so to speak, right, where they really start to, or I guess not an S curve. I don't know. You're the math guy. What kind of curve is that? When it that U-shaped curve when it just really starts to fall off really significantly?
Well, you know, that's kind of the logarithmic or the exponential curve. I mean, it depends. It seems like here tonight we're probably on more of an exponential curve, where it seems like the tires all of a sudden just snap and they really start to fall off. But I am impressed with the 49 machine. I know, Drew, you and I kind of talked about a little bit earlier in the night that over about a 20-lap run, we only saw about a second of fall off on these tires. So maybe Mitchell Adams was thinking of that track position, but he was so far up the field. He was running in third position when that caution flag came out that I just would have expected him to come down pit road, because he, I guess, anticipated a lot of the field not to come down pit road. But we'll have to see how that all works out. We have seen benefit to saving tire over the run between some of the drivers, and here is a couple of drivers who are very good at saving tires. Doug Neal in the 77 machine trying to go to the outside of the number 9 of Lorello right there. There's Josh Sobel in the bright green number 30 machine, but a good run here by Doug Neal, sticking it inside the top 6 for right now, and trying to go around the number 9 machine. Of course, that is the third place man in points, the number 9 machine. Well, it looks like he's going to grab onto that spot for right now, so that moved that Simbox 77 up into the 6th position right now. And one thing I want to check on is 4 tires versus 2 tire stops. I'm not seeing a whole lot of 2 tire stops. Mostly everyone who came down pit road took 4 tires under that last pit stop. As you see, Philip Scott and JT Poole go side by side, and they're going to battle their way coming out of turn number 2 right here. There's the 44 and the 26. Like I mentioned, JT Poole been like a rocket on the short run, and starting to struggle here on the long run.
Yep, what we've seen all night from that 26 truck, he just can't seem to get that thing figured out, unfortunately, on these longer runs. But, Peter, speaking of longer runs, in about 7 laps, the pit window will be open. What do you think these guys are going to do? I think if you're James Lorello, maybe you short pit a little bit. Maybe you pit on lap 100. And then maybe if you're one of those guys that are leading, especially the 94 and the 8, maybe you wait a little bit. But, like, I think the 49 and the 9 are the 2 guys that I would think were going to come early. But we thought that would happen earlier, and they waited till several laps into a pit window to come in. What do you think these guys are going to do?
Man, a little bit of connection issues there with Philip Scott. I expect these drivers to split it in half. I expect them to come down with 20 laps to go. Of course, we went back green with about 40 to go. I think that's when I would come down. Now, if you're some of the drivers a little bit further back in the pack, maybe drivers like Justin White, as caution flag has come out. So that throws away that strategy in its entirety, as I was just about to say. What was going on, but it seems like we have had a car go around on the front stretch, possibly the number 10 machine. Oh, it was a 24 Ben Mashburn, and then there was a separate contact, the number 10 getting into Jamar Dumas, going up on his side. But there's 2 things really to break down here. Something happened with the 24 machine of Ben Mashburn. There he is. Remember, he had that spin a little while ago, and the 28 gets into him, and oh, wow, that's heavy contact there. And that 24 machine of Mashburn really struggling there up into that outside wall. His night's done. And the only thing I can think of is Jamar Dumas was checking up because he was involved in that accident, and Monty Glover just wasn't expecting it. There's, I think, that initial contact. Let's see what happened here. Let's go out the gearbox cam. Here comes Monty Glover, and wow, almost put Monty Glover into the catch fence there.
Yeah, not to give a plug to a non-sponsor, but is that a discount double check, Peter?
That very well might be.
Yeah, Jamar Dumas, man, kind of got 2 for the price of 1 on that deal. Got into the 24. I mean, just straight tagged the rear bumper of the 24, and then kind of post 24 decides the 10 deserved to ride to the outside wall. I mean, I'm not trying to be too critical, but the 28 certainly was at fault of both of those deals. and quick succession for that 28 truck. So unfortunately, maybe fortunately, this is going to be interesting. This is right on the edge of that pit window, Peter. Do you think these guys can make it? Heck, almost 30 laps these guys are going to have to do. Is that doable? Is this going to turn into a fuel mileage race?
It very well might turn into a fuel mileage race. I'm sure we're going to see a couple of these and top off on fuel. I'm really curious to know if we have any drivers who have been in the chat here tonight that might be out or have left the racing surface, who can let us know what that type of limit is for fuel. Because if it is 25 laps like we have seen, 26 laps like we have seen, then these drivers are going to have to save 3 laps of fuel, which is extremely difficult on a 2-mile racetrack. So we're coming off pit road here. Looks like Jason Freeman going to win that race off pit road. Very busy pit road here. Stay tuned, sports saying I say one more caution will happen. And with the lap count winding down, definitely cautions could potentially breed cautions here tonight at Auto Club Speedway. But we are under caution for right now. We're trying to see who might be the lucky dog award. I don't think there is going to be a lucky dog award under this caution flag. It actually might be Ben Adams in the number 5 machine. I think the lucky dog actually might have been Ben Mashburn in the 24, but because it was involved in the accident, he's not unable to pick that up. So that would be a tough break for him. So we'll see if it goes to the number 5 machine of Ben Adams. And I'm not 100% sure why Ben Adams is a couple laps down. Curious to know if Jana Himmelman in the chat has any intel on that. Maybe some connection issues on the number 5 at some point during the race. But for right now, Ben Adams, one of your chase drivers, sitting 3 laps down out there on the racetrack.
Yeah, fortunate for possibly Ben Adams. Because I think that, as you mentioned, the 10 and the 24 aren't eligible. So a good job by that 5 to get a lap back or so. But he still needs a few more cautions in order to get that 5 truck in a relatively competitive situation. But I think this was really fortunate for that 49 truck, Peter, because I think as that run developed, the 49 was going to be at a significant disadvantage. Also a beneficiary was that 9 truck, who kind of had a bit of a run-in, a bit of drama there on that restart between he and the 44, who is once again starting right behind him. So we'll see. These guys are starting to double up here, and in not too long, we will be going green as these guys now making their way down the back stretches. You see both the 10 of Monty Glover, the 5 of Ben Adams, hauling the mail down the front stretch, trying to catch this pack as they continue their double wide formation. I don't know. I'm really interested. I hope that we get some chatter from the folks in chat about maybe some guy who was some driver who participated in this race about, do you think these guys can make it on fuel? Because this seems really, really close.
Yeah, that is for sure. And folks, we're experiencing some technical gremlins here. Unfortunately, trying to restart the graphics package and see if that helps them. So we're not actually dialing up any type of replay for you. We saw a couple of cars get back on the lead lap, but it seems like these technical gremlins here really starting to struggle. We'll see if we can get that back for you here in just a little bit. Drew, I think you're going to have to go to a little bit of a radio-style broadcast for the folks back at home.
No problem. MRN style broadcast. The 94 gets a great jump on this restart through 1 and 2. He has a several car length lead. Now the 8 of Drew Himmelman is running in second position. The 26 of JT Poole in third. The first top 5 drivers in single file here. James Lorello clears those guys up into 4th position. Huge championship implications right there as he is able to clear a bunch of those guys. Mitchell Adams, a huge loser on that restart. He falls down. Towards the tail end of the top 10 is the 30 of Josh Sobel in the 32 truck of Peter Serto, battling for 8th position on track right now. Though up looking back at the top 2-3 drivers, the number 94 about a truck length lead over the number 8 of Drew Himmelman is now. We have pictures for you, folks. It's no longer a radio broadcast, but you get some fancy images in front of you as you see the number 8 of Drew Himmelman all over the back bumper. The 94, but the 26 sticks his nose high on the 8. And the 94, they're going to take it 3 wide going into 3. There is not a lot of room here at Auto Club to make 3 wide work. Who is going to be the guy that loses out on this? It doesn't look like it's going to be the 8 as he clears the 26. Will the 94 be able to carry that momentum on the outside?
And that 26 machine down there on the inside, you see the 94 drop back there just. Wow, JT Poole in that 26 trying to get all he can get here on the restart, folks. Not sure what's going on with all the stutters. That is something I don't appear to be able to fix, and I'm not. I don't exactly know what's going on. Literally everything on my computer is saying it's okay, and obviously it is not, so I do apologize for that, but we do have 25 laps to go here at the Auto Club Speedway. Battle for the race lead. Here comes Jason Freeman. He lost that lead just a little bit ago. Now he's going to go back for it on that inside group, but here comes James Lorello. The number 9 machine is now up into the mix. He's going to try and split up the middle to go 3 wide. Wow, this is some crazy action as JT Poole, Jason Freeman get tight with one another there, going across the yard of bricks, if you will, here at the beautiful Auto Club Speedway. It isn't a yard of bricks. It isn't the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but you get the idea as they go across the stripe. 24 laps to go here, Drew, and we're side by side for the race lead.
And the big loser in this whole circumstance was that 49. Restarted in 4th position as the 44, man. I got to imagine James Lorello is not going to be particularly happy with Philip Scott, as once again the 44 kind of forces the situation as though the 8 truck gets really loose out of 4, and that's actually going to really work out for James Lorello as he's able to carry that high lane and is able to clear all those other drivers now up to 3rd position. As I was trying to get to this action on track. The 49 restarted in 4th position and fell back to 8th. Meanwhile, basically the inverse happened to James Lorello, started behind him, started in about 5th, 6th position, and was able to kind of have a reverse of fortune compared to that 49 and is now up to 3rd. And folks, again, that might not seem like a lot, but when you only have 12, 13, 14 points between these drivers, those are huge points implications between these guys, as there's only 3 races left. As man, that 44 is being incredibly aggressive off of 4, blocking the 8 of Drew Himmelman.
Yeah, there's a lot of hard racing going on right now here at the Auto Club Speedway. It seems like a definite pack has formed up all the way back to the number 62, Colin Ullery. How about Colin Ullery there in the number 62 machine? Remember, Drew, he was in that alternate strategy a while ago. Now he's got himself back into a pretty decent position, currently running in the 12th spot in that Sim Racing Shirts Red Bull 62 truck.
And I know I voiced my concern about his strategy fairly early on, but this has certainly played into his hand, as now that 62 truck on the cusp of a top 10 running position. But what we kind of didn't see right there is the 44 basically was on the apron that whole time through 3 and 4 that last time by, and he fell from, I want to say 6th position. And now I'm just kind of looking for that 44, and he has just really fallen like a rock through this field, unfortunately for him. I'm not even seeing Philip Scott's name appearing in the top 20. So something happened to that 44 truck. But now James Lorello challenging up there for 2nd position, getting around JT Poole to the outside, as now we see it. And Peter, we kind of talked about this. Is this an attempt by that 44 potentially to realize that these guys can't make it on fuel, so let's get tires and try to capitalize and make up this ground right now?
It is extremely early for that 44 to come down pit road. You usually expect to see someone split the difference, go maybe 12 laps, 13 laps, 14 laps, something like that. But really, I think the 44 is on pit road a little bit early, but here comes the 971 and Nathan Maurer trying to go to the inside of Andrew Himmelman, not able to do so. But right now, Himmelman trying to go 3 wide. How about this? Lorello on the top side, Poole in the middle, Himmelman on the inside line. It looks like Himmelman going to get 2 for 1 here going through turn number 3 and 4. He's back up into 2nd.
And it's just, it's kind of been what I was expecting more of throughout this race, is where the draft is so massive here that it allows you to get really big runs. And we didn't see that early in the race, which I was kind of surprised in, but we're seeing it now. Is now the 8 of Drew Himmelman challenging that 94 for the race lead. It didn't look like he was able to roll that bottom quite like he needed to, as he's going to try to get back in line right there. As we are, folks, closing in on 19 to go. And I'm not seeing a lot of fuel saving out there, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Maybe that's what the 49's doing. I think if you're one of those guys that didn't get a great restart, maybe just go into fuel conservation mode and hope it works out. I think the 9's coming down pit road, so the 9, James Lorello, coming down pit road. He can't make it. He doesn't think anybody else can, so he's coming down early. Maybe going to get some right sides, maybe going to take 4 and try to make up this ground on tire strategy or something. I got to imagine there's something that this 9's doing. Peter, what do you think his thought process is?
I think that he is just going to come down. He's going to be out there on the racetrack all by himself. And when he's out there by himself, he doesn't have anyone, else to worry about. And that can definitely help him. Here we go. Mitchell Adams right back here, just inside the top 10 in the 7th position. You see the 44, Philip Scott, trying to go to his outside. Now 49's coming on down pit road. So he saw what Lorello did 1 lap ago. Doug Neal coming down, Colin Ullery coming down, Joshua Sobel coming down pit road. So some definite different pit strategies out there here at the Auto Club Speedway. Of course, if there is another caution or something, it could throw everything into the mix. Nathan Maurer, though, in the 971 machine's got himself up to the front of the field.
971 doing a good job here at Auto Club Speedway, running in P3 now. I'm just kind of tracking the number 9. You can't quite see what kind of lap time he's going to be doing. Back out front, the 8 of Drew Himmelman. Right there behind the 971 of Nathan Maurer, as those guys racing real hard. As that truck way off in the distance right there, you can just barely peek. That's the number 9 truck, so he didn't go a lap down there, Peter. So maybe James Lorello thinks there's going to be wrecking, maybe, and he's trying to stay out of it. I got to say, I don't know what that thought process is, because I got to imagine these guys drafting each other are going to be quicker than what that 9 is able to accomplish by himself. But we will see the 49 also pitted, a bunch of drivers pitting, so a ton of different strategies going on here, Peter, as the 971 of Nathan Maurer and the 8 of Drew Himmelman continue to lead this race. And if there's a caution, it wouldn't be the worst thing for those guys, but the guys that were able to pit and then come out ahead of those other drivers, it's going to be interesting to see how it mixes up this pit strategy. Now the 26 comes on the pit road, and this is really shaking up the field.
Yeah, this is really going to be fun. This all shakes. Nathan Maurer lead over Andrew Himmelman. Look at Colin Ullery there in the 62. He's on fresh tires at 44. Philip Scott's on fresh tires. And wow, they're getting tight there down the backstretch. You see Himmelman trying to do all he can to try and get himself back up to the race lead. But one thing about coming down pit road, when pit road was pretty quiet, Drew, is you can really get all you can get. You don't have to worry about what we saw earlier. I think that was JT Poole who had a hiccup coming down pit road. But for right now, if you're Andrew Himmelman, Nathan Maurer, you really can't come down pit road because you're kind of boxed in right now with these 2 trucks that are on fresher tires. And those 2 trucks have a little bit better pace than you. Now Himmelman able to get down to the inside groove, so perhaps we'll see Himmelman on pit road this time. But if Andrew Himmelman or Nathan Maurer wanted to go down pit road last time, they couldn't. And look at Philip Scott going all the way up there to the top side, putting the 971 and Nathan Maurer, who was the race leader, there in the middle of the racetrack. There's JT Poole in the 26 machine just now coming back out into the racetrack. So really going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out, because we've seen some cars already pit, some cars haven't come down to pit yet. We've seen some drivers have good pit entries, others not so great. So, we just have to wait and see. We just have to wait for the whole field to cycle on through. But at least right now, JT Poole trying to get past the 971 and Nathan Maurer, who continues to lap in the 2nd spot. Travis White right now, right there running in 3rd on the scoring pylon. And behind him is the U.S. Army Esports Racing Machine of Adam Dama, Jeffrey Johnson Jr., one of your chase drivers as well, currently sitting inside the top 5. Haven't mentioned him all night. And he's one of those drivers, Drew, we mention it all the time, that throughout the night, you don't mention a whole lot of him, but seems to work his way up into a good position. As you can see, he's trying to get all he can get a little bit of a draft off the back of the number 5 machine there of Ben Adams.
Yeah, you can make up and lose a ton of time coming off the pit road, and we saw that number 33 try to maximize that. As our race leader, the number 8, now coming down pit road, that will leave the 971 to inherit the race lead. As I thought the 5 was going to be coming down pit road there, maybe. I guess not. But yeah, a lone black and blue and yellow and red truck coming down pit road. That number 8 of Drew Himmelman. He will be coming down towards a good pit box, but not number 1, which honestly, the number 1 pit box not always an advantage here under green flag pit stops because all those other guys are basically leaving their stalls at speed, and it doesn't give you the advantage that it does under yellow flag conditions. Is this 94 off pace, Peter?
I'm wondering if Jason Freeman tried to come down pit road or something and couldn't. Well, I don't know. He's seems like he's slow. Maybe running out of fuel or something. I don't know. I thought he might have missed pit road or something, but definite issues. He's only going 151 miles an hour down the backstretch. Something has gone wrong. Something has gone amiss with the number 94 truck. Will he come down pit road this time? No, he will not. It's almost like he's got engine damage on that truck. I don't see any particular damage. Do we think, Drew, that the number 94 of Jason Freeman is trying to save enough fuel to make it to the end of the race? I mean, if that is the case, he is just a second or so in front of James Lorello. I'll have to bring up live timing and scoring to see exactly whether or not that 94 machine has come down to make a final pit stop, but he's falling into the clutches of Lorello here pretty quickly.
And those James Lorello behind him, you see that's the number 9 and the 49 are 2 main championship driver rivals as they run right now, because the 50 Bill Edwards not having the race that he needs to stay in touch with those two. And yeah, I mean, he might have saved some gas, but I don't know if it's enough to be able to run competitively compared to the guys who have already pitted. Of the front runners are the 2 guys right behind him. So everyone in front of the 94 has not pitted. Everyone behind has. And that number 9 and the number 49 are the 2 drivers that are furthest forward. But that 77 of Doug Neal doesn't care about this championship stuff. Did the 77 take tires, Peter? Because we're seeing a burst of speed from Doug Neal right there.
Contact! Doug Neal and James Lorello make contact coming out of turn number 4, and Lorello saves it. And with that, he might have just saved his opportunity at picking up the Simbox Truck Series Championship as well. We'll go back and dial up this replay for you because, folks, that's as good of a save as you'll see. We've seen a couple of good ones here tonight. There's the contact. There's the sideways, and look at Peter Serto in the 32 Jansen machine avoiding the number 9 machine of Lorello, but I'm sure that will make Lorello a little bit hot underneath the helmet here as he blasts down the backstretch right in front of the 26 of JT Poole. We can confirm that the number 94 of Jason Freeman, he was thinking of saving fuel to go to the end of the race. He has not come down pit road yet in that number 94 truck, so he will continue to pace around. The big question is whether or not he will have enough fuel to make it to the end of the race. I thought he might have run out of fuel, but instead he's doing the opposite. He's trying to not run out of fuel, but this is actually the battle for the race, what would be the race lead, as we know that Travis White, who is the current race leader in the number 23 machine, we know that he's not saving any fuel and he won't be able to make it. He leads over Stan Hausman, Nathan Maurer, Garrett Gleason, David Harvey, and Jason Freeman. Let's check in on the 971 machine there of Nathan Maurer, because I think he is also thinking of saving fuel. Remember, Drew, he was up near the front of the field. He's now dropped to 13, almost 14 seconds back behind the number 23 of White, and continuing to lose ground on the 23. So I think Maurer is going to try that strategy to save enough fuel, but has he saved enough? Meanwhile, the 49 and the number 94, the number 49 was able to get around Jason Freeman. So Mitchell Adams up to the front here tonight at Auto Club Speedway. At least we think, if Nathan Maurer does need to come down pit road, the time difference between Adams and Maurer is about 9 seconds right now, and that is continuing to come down very, very quickly. The difference last time by, folks, between Nathan Maurer, he ran a 49.6 second lap time. You compare that to Mitchell Adams, who ran a 42.45. That is a heck of a lot of time there, Drew. 7 seconds. This last lap, as they filtered across the line, it was 5 seconds. So Maurer is going to have to get on the gas here pretty soon if he's going to try and hold off this number 49 machine. But I think right now, Mitchell Adams, your reigning Simbox Truck Series champion and points leader coming into tonight, is in the catbird seat with 5 laps to go.
Yeah, I really like the position that Mitchell Adams has put himself in, the 77 of Doug Neal. Did he take tires, Peter, based on what you're seeing on pit strategy? Because, like I said, we've seen a burst of speed out of that 77 that I haven't seen all night.
Doug Neal took 2 tires. Peter Serto also took 2 tires. Mitchell Adams appears to also have taken 2 tires. Jason Freeman, of course, he hasn't taken tires yet, but a lot of 2-tire strategies on pit road. Meanwhile, JT Poole in the 26 machine. Let's see where JT is, because he was, I think, the first car to take 4 tires. Here he is looking at the back of Doug Neal. JT Poole currently relative to Mitchell Adams, as Mitchell Adams actually makes the pass on Nathan Maurer, who's continuing to save fuel. You can see that orange and blue truck about 4 or 5 trucks up in front. JT's going to have to really run down Mitchell Adams here as we have 4 laps to go if JT Poole's going to want to use those 4 fresh tires. But he does have a little bit of an advantage right now on lap times, but he has a lot of trucks to pass. And you and I know Drew Cashin's one thing, passing him is another. You see Doug Neal there getting on the apron. That's going to give JT Poole a big run coming out of the corner, almost making contact. I think he actually had to check up, just couldn't quite time that to perfection to get that run on Doug Neal. So looks like Neal going to hold on to that spot for right now. But what about Travis White? He is your race leader right now on pit road. Stan Hausman also coming down pit road. David Harvey right there, the 05 Toyota Tundra. He's still out there on the racetrack right now with Garrett Gleason in tow. Those 2 trucks, they have about a 10-second gap over Mitchell Adams. Could David Harvey squeak out a victory here tonight? We haven't really talked about him, but he's continuing to save fuel. Same thing with Garrett Gleason there in the number 7 machine, but as you can see there on the right-hand side of your screen, that is Mitchell Adams, who we know 100% is good to go to the end of the race. Drew, I just don't see it happening for Harvey or Gleason here in the closing laps. I just don't think they can save enough fuel, but I could be wrong. We've been wrong before. 2 laps to go here, and it doesn't look like they're going to come down pit road here in the closing laps.
Yeah, I mean, especially for those 2 drivers, right? We talked about it. They don't have a lot to lose, does the 05 and the number 7, right? They're, again, when you're not running for the championship and there's no points on the line, you're not even running for 7th, you're not running for 13th. Like, those guys have very limited starts. It really kind of gives you freedom to try stuff, because why? It doesn't matter if you run out of fuel for the 05, right? But you might give yourself a chance to win. And he has saved fuel in a way that no other driver has been able to thus far, as I'm seeing some radio chatter for the 7, I believe. He's coming down pit road, and the 05 is as well. No, he's not. The 05 isn't. He is still out, but I think he might be out of fuel. Yes, I think the 05 is out of fuel. He is slowing on the front stretch, and here comes Mitchell Adams to his outside as we have the white flag, folks, as the 49 takes it to the outside, gets by the 05. The 05 definitely out of fuel at this point as Peter Serto takes second. JT Poole, tons of drivers continue to go by this 05 truck as Mitchell Adams now has a nice, as stable of a race lead as we've seen since pit stops started, as now he's looking to lap Nathan Maurer, who was leading not too long ago, as he brings that number 49 through 3 and 4, and despite a chaotic fuel-saving strategy by multiple drivers, the guy who plays it safe will bring home the checkered flag, and Mitchell Adams will win at Auto Club Speedway and give himself a great shot to win the NSRA Simbox Truck Series Championship in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, he's going to add to that points tally, that is for sure. And with Bill Edwards finishing all the way down in 9th and James Lorello finishing in 6th, he definitely has a very strong stranglehold on this championship. Tough break for the 05 machine of David Harvey, falls all the way down to 20th position. In fact, he just got passed by Garrett Gleason, who made that splash of gas at final pit stop right there coming to the white flag. Just not quite able to save enough fuel. We did see some drivers save enough. Well, yeah, Jamar Dumas was able to save enough to make it to the flag. I think David Harvey, I think he actually ran out, came up a little bit short of the checkered flag. But number 49 machine here, Mitchell Adams, going to burn it down here on the front stretch here at Auto Club Speedway. big win for this number 49 machine, getting back to victory lane here in the championship, and very impressive right there at the end.
A great job by Mitchell to just know what he needed to do, knew the strategy, and played it to perfection. A great win for Mitchell Adams. A fantastic result from Peter Serto as well in that number 32 truck, and JT Poole in that 26 as well. A great run by our entire top five. A lot of those names we didn't see towards the front all the vast majority of the night. I think the only exception being Drew Himmelman, who led quite a few laps and was on pace to run right with the leader the vast majority of the race. But I think a lot of these guys, they really didn't have a lot of say on who was leading the race the vast majority of this race is unfolding, but they just managed to nail the strategy and bring home great results.
That is definitely true. You hit the nail on the head there. Folks, we're going to step away for just a brief moment here on 3 Wide TV, line up some post-race interviews for you, and we will be right back. All right, folks, welcome back to the Auto Club Speedway, where tonight's 250-mile event in the Simbox Truck Series has come to its conclusion. And I believe that Drew Eisenman has caught up with our third-place finisher, JT Poole.
Hey, JT Money Shift Poo, you this is 3 Wide, the 3 Wide TV booth. Drew Eisenman up here. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, a bit different than Bristol or Watkins Glen. Your two best performances. You had a heck of a truck under you tonight. Maybe struggled a little bit in the long run. Just give us a breakdown of how that race went from your perspective.
Yeah, I'm not good at all at these 2-mile tracks. Like Michigan earlier this season, I knew this race is kind of be like that, but we were pretty fast short run. I was really hoping for a late green white checkered caution, because I knew we might have been able to get up there, maybe top step by the podium instead. But I tried everything I could in practice to see what this long run speed could do, and how to save my tires. I just couldn't figure anything out.
So yeah, I mean, we certainly noticed from the booth your struggles on the long run. Exactly what were you struggling with?
I thought I was doing pretty good backing up the corners and just letting my feet drive the truck, but I guess not. Just really tight. It was plowing. it felt like I started like have to use the apron in the corners just so I can turn and make it sideways, and we were struggling all night, and I knew it was going to be like that going in, but we were able to salvage out a top 3, so very happy about that.
And you certainly had the raw pace tonight, and then I think you kind of maximized what was going on there with the fuel strategy. What was your thought process leading into that final pit stop?
I was gonna first I was trying to stretch it out and see how far I could go with hope a caution would come out, but I saw everyone start to pit, and I knew the way that we'd gotten all spread out, I highly doubted there was going to be a caution, which we didn't get, and I know some other guys like Andrew Hillman and Jason Freeman tried that, and it didn't really work out for them, but yeah, I followed the 49 what they were doing, and we were able to pass the 9, but couldn't quite catch the 49.
Well, I mean, you certainly got a great finish tonight. You started on the pole. Third is probably a couple places shy of where you wanted to end up, but third is certainly nothing to sneeze at. Before we let you go, JT, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I want to thank Chris Darling, Ben Mashburn, Andrew Himmelman, Ben Adams, all those guys putting the league on. You guys for broadcasting, and my dad, my mom for watching and making sure I'm not doing anything stupid. So it was fun. I hope we can get back up here again next week, and maybe we can finish 2 spots better.
Congratulations on your third place finish tonight, JT.
Y'all have a good one.
All right, well, let's see if we can bring in Peter Serto in the up into the chat. I know we always have Peter Serto fans in the chat in that number 32 Jansen machine. Peter Serto, Peter Short in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'll tell you what, that number 32 machine, pretty quiet night for the first, I'd say, 2/3 of the race, but all of a sudden you started creeping up there into the picture, and some stellar pit work to get you up into the top 3. Tell us about your car throughout the night, and really the fact that it came alive as the sun went down.
Yeah, just trying to stay consistent most of the night was the key for me, hitting all my points consistently and having good pit stops, and I think that strategy led to the positioning I was in.
Yeah, definitely a really, really strong race for you in that truck. And how awesome is it to kind of buck the trend and get a strong finish here on the podium?
Yeah, it's been a couple of months here since having some consistent races, and a couple of weeks ago I had a chance to get on the podium, not the way I wanted to end the race, but I think tonight redeemed myself, and looking forward to the finish here, and obviously looking for next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking forward to next season. Of course, stay tuned. Sports Jumping on board as the series sponsor, but a little bit shorter season. Do you think that will work to your advantage?
Yeah, I wasn't able to run the full season this year. Would have loved to, but just didn't have the time to get on every night. So looking forward to the shortened up season. Definitely going to be running the full time. I'm looking to get that 32 Jansen to first place soon here.
Absolutely. Well, over the next couple of weeks, we go to ISM Raceway, aka Phoenix, next week, and then Chicagoland to round out the season. What are your thoughts on the last 2 races here in the Simbox Truck Series season?
It's going to stay out of the way, I think, at this point. Just let the guys that are fighting for it go for it and just run consistently.
Well, hey, you almost played spoiler here tonight at Auto Club Speedway. Nothing to be too upset about, that is for sure. Peter, I know you got people to give shout-outs to, so let's hear them.
Yeah, for sure. My father, Peter John, is watching every night. Girlfriend, Kelsey, who's always watching, tuning in, and whoever else is rooting on the 32 Jansen.
Absolutely. Well, Peter, thanks for joining us up here in the booth. Congratulations on your runner-up finish here tonight at Auto Club, and we'll see you again next week.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for the number 32 machine of Peter Serto. Now let's bring your race winner, Mitchell Adams, up into the chat there. Drew, you got him?
Yep. Mitchell Adams, Drew Eisman up here in the 3-way TV booth. You got a copy?
Yes, I do.
Well, Mitchell, that was certainly an up and down race for you. You didn't manage to set a qualifying time, had a couple, maybe a 2X, a 0X going on there in qualifying, recover from 25th to win the race. Just give us a breakdown of how it unfolded from your perspective.
Yeah, well, qualifying was a rough start because I was headed out of the pits and the truck just went around, and the iRacing DQ'd us from qualifying, so I didn't get to put a lap in. I mean, I knew we were going to be strong. This is a track I really like. And I definitely, it's kind of similar to Michigan, and we won there, so I was pretty confident coming into this race. But it was really just kind of trying to keep it out of trouble most of the day. And right from the drop of the green flag, the truck felt great. Struggled on long runs a little bit early, but kind of figured it out later. And once we got up into the top 5, we pretty much kept it there for most of the night. And just kind of followed some of those guys that were really fast and found their line and just kind of sailed it home from there.
Yeah, you certainly did sailed it right into victory lane. You've had a pretty solid chase relative to your competitors, but it certainly hasn't been drama free. How much does that championship picture factor into your decision making throughout the race?
I mean, it's really all I'm thinking about out here. It's playing the points game at this point in the season. It's like when I saw James Pitt and I think Bill Pitt, I knew those are the guys I'm racing, so I knew I had to follow them down pit road there, and it ended up putting us in victory lane. But really, it's, you come out here and I really want to win races, but at the end of the day, in the championship picture, you only got a few drivers you're racing, and it's about beating those guys every week.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that last pit stop in the fuel window. I guess this is going to kind of be a two-part question. There were guys that tried to make it out. Number one, did you think that was possible? And number two, what went into your decision-making process as far as the tire choice, when you pitted, and basically everything that went into that decision?
There were a few laps right after we restarted. I thought maybe I could make it, especially since I kind of got loose and got back in the pack. I thought maybe I could use the draft and try and save. I kind of was watching my fuel numbers and really didn't think that was going to work. And I mean, once I saw those guys go in, I knew it was time. And 2 tires, I mean, I knew it was a short pit stop, but I wanted something out there. And I've done that before, and it's worked. And so I just kind of, from experience, just knowing when and to pit and what to do with it.
Yeah, and you certainly nailed it. And in the final 2 races, we have ISM Raceway, also known as Phoenix and Chicagoland. What's your confidence level going into those 2 races as you kind of extended your points lead quite a bit tonight?
We've been talking about the last few races a lot in Discord and things, and I mean, ISM's been getting a lot of hate. Man, that's my favorite track. I love that place. I think I'll definitely be a factor there. I know a lot of these guys are really good on short tracks, and so it's not going to be an easy race for sure, but I do really like that track. And Chicago, I mean, I've been good on 1.5 miles. That's a place I'm good. I'm not a huge fan of Chicago, but I mean, I'm confident I can put up a good run there too.
Well, we certainly look forward to seeing how that race unfolds, and certainly best of luck. Before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, we got some new sponsors on board the 49 this week. So I want to shout out Stay Tuned Sports for coming on board. We got Butt Kicker on board. My Nana and Papa are now sponsoring my truck too. That's pretty cool. Everybody at Revolution Motorsports that I work with during these races, everybody that's cheering on the 49 and watching us through this playoffs, and just thank you to you guys for broadcasting once again. I can't wait to watch it tomorrow. And yeah, just thank you to all the fans for turning up and watching the racing.
Well, thank you for speaking with us, Mitchell, and once again, congratulations on your race victory.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Mitchell Adams also going to be the biggest mover of the race here tonight, I do believe. So, Mitchell Adams definitely one of the in my opinion, one of the best performances of the season. Of course, the biggest mover award brought to you by Taz Racing Customs. Big shout out to them. Of course, we had the Super Speedway Series that they sponsor last night here on the channel. But if you're in the market for a custom diecast, make sure you check them out, because like it says there, they can paint your iRacing car, they can paint a real car and put it on a diecast, and that is really, really, really cool. But Drew, I think it's about time for us to go through tonight's final race results.
Absolutely. We just spoke to him. You heard from him. Mitchell Adams, our race winner tonight. Peter Serto brought home second position. You heard from him as well, as you did with JT Poole, our third place finisher in that number 26 truck. A great follow-up to his recent successes. Andrew Himmelman, I would consider the number change a success, Peter, finishing P4. Doug Neal, a really strong finish, win that 77 truck for P5. I don't think this is the finish that James Lorello was looking for relative to his championship competitors, as he'll bring the number 9 truck home in 6th position. A good run for Josh Sobel, though, in the number 30 truck. He'll bring home 7th. Colin Ullery manages to make an, alternative pit strategy work for him, and he will finish in 8th position. Bill Edwards, honestly, Peter, a pretty solid recovery for that 50 truck, though he will lose ground to Mitchell Adams, who was our championship leader. He'll finish in 9th position. And rounding at our top 10, some aggressive driving from that number 44 tonight of Philip Scott, but it paid off as he finishes at the very last position inside of our top 10.
Yeah, finishing in the 11th spot, Robert Dudley in the number 15. That was a pretty good recovery for him after some woes there in the middle portion of the race. Travis White pretty much around the 12th position for a majority of the night, does come home in 12th. Barry Knapp in the number 42. Quiet night from him. Didn't really focus on him all too much, but great job for him. Jeffrey Johnson Jr. finishing in 14th. Stan Halsman back here in the Simbox Truck Series. Big shout out to him, one of the series sponsors. In that number 39 truck, finishing in 15th. Justin White, he was up here in the booth last night, finishing 16th here tonight. Adam Dalma, 17th. Garrett Gleason, man, if only Garrett had one more lap of fuel, that number 7 might have been going to victory lane, but 18th place finish for him. Nathan Maurer and Jason Freeman rounding out your top 20, and I think the big one down there is Jason Freeman finishing in 20th. And Nathan Maurer as well had a great run going. Those two drivers elected to try and save fuel there, Drew, and it didn't really work out for them.
Absolutely. Jamar Dumas will come home in 21st. Another guy that we talked about ran out of fuel coming to take the white flag. The number 05 of Dave Harvey gave it everything that he got, just came up a little bit short. The 51 of Paul Bilson brings home 23rd. The number 5 of Ben Adams, 24th. Doug Milner in 25th. And now we're starting to get the guys that had some trouble on track. The number 14 of Jeff Price, 26th. And now guys, multiple laps down the 10 of Monty Glover involved in that incident with the 44. I believe the 44, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken in that. We'll see if my memory is correct. That he will bring home in 27th. The number 24 of Ben Mashburn brings home 28th. Ben Izenga had an eventful night. Both, of his own mistakes and those around him getting caught up in them. He'll bring home 29th. Chris Darling on his return, unfortunately, did not turn out the way he would want, as he brought home 30th after pounding the outside wall in the number 47 truck. And then TJ Buck, unfortunately, the last starter to take the grid, at least, with that 84 truck, he had computer difficulties and will bring home 31st. Both the number 34 of Steven Doziak, the number 41 of Tony Lucarelli. Neither of those drivers started the race.
Yeah, that is true. But Drew, just 2 more races left here tonight, and with the 49 taking home the checkered flag, he will have a very healthy points lead, 20-plus points going into ISM next week, and we hear that it's his favorite racetrack. He sounds very confident. Folks, I think we could see a back-to-back series champion in Mitchell Adams, but I'm saying that as the commentator's curse can happen. We'll just have to wait and see. We have 2 more races left. We have a lot of more laps to run on the racetrack this season. So make sure you tune in next week and the week after, same time, same place here on 3Y TV. But Drew, any final thoughts?
Just an unexpected ending, an unexpected, kind of welcome ending to the race with the fuel strategy being involved. I wish we saw more of that in real life. It's always kind of fun to see how that unfolds, and I'm really excited for ISM at Phoenix. It's a track that, due to its reconfiguration, lends itself to a lot of late race chaos and upheaval. And I would be surprised if we saw anything less than that next week.
Yeah, that is for sure. Big shout out to the series sponsors here, the National Sim Racing Association Simbox Truck Series, including Simbox. Make sure you check them out. Facebook.com/SimboxPCs, as well as Taz Racing Customs, Sim Racing Shirts, Lynchburg T-Shirt Company, and the Brookstone Animal Hospital for putting together the series sponsors. And gotta say, Brookstone Animal Hospital, they're also going to be sponsoring, I think, the Man's Best Friend Award, I think next season is what it's called, and that's going to go to the driver who has the least number of incident points throughout the year. So that's a pretty cool award that they're going to jump on board next season as well with. So great to have them on board this season as well. Got to give a shout out here on 3 Wide TV to our friends over at Sim TV for the camera angles that we bring you each and every week here on the channel. But I think that's just about gonna do it. So folks, stay safe, have a good night, and we shall see ya.